Hey, folks. What's going on? Sorry about yesterday. I don't even know what happened. There was like a tree that fell across the road and it took a bunch of power lines out. So, stream just cut out in the middle of talking, basically. It was windy as hell here yesterday, so I guess it just got blown over. But anyways, we're going to jump back into it. We got about 3 hours here. I'm going to get through as many of the replays that I got sent as possible. Very excited for it. And I actually have the finals here I'm going to show off. Let me actually download it real quick again, because I don't see it here at the top. I'm very curious to see how the finals is played, because I do know who won. I know what faction they were on. I'm curious how they're actually going to pull it off. Slick. So we got Vampire Coast versus Khorne. Very difficult matchup for the Vampire Coast. There are a lot of vulnerabilities that this faction has that Khorne does a very good job of capitalizing on. There is a little bit of counterplay, though, for Vampire Coast. They've got a couple of different strategies that they can roll in that can be very difficult for certain Khorne builds to play into. And just right off the bat, Rek is going for something a little bit unique, going for a debuff build. You know, rocking up in here with the Spearfisher's Net, which is not only a snare, but also lowers melee defense for a unit. You've got Aranessa with Manon's Luck, and also Kraken's Bane to give melee attack and bonus versus large to everything, which is pretty strong, even on a Zombie Pirate Deckhand mob. You can see their melee attack goes up to 22, and you're talking about an extra 8 damage, potentially, on Skulltaker. That extra poke can make a big difference against him, as well as against the Gorbeast Chariots and even the Throwing Axes, so they can't just charge you down constantly. The Marauder Horseman Throwing Axes are pretty dangerous in this matchup. They kill crabs, they kill animated hulks, they kill Mournghouls, and they can also run down stuff like Deck Gunners that might be mispositioned and unprotected. There's also Denizens of the Deep and Fog of the Damned. So you get the Rotting Promethean summon, and Fog of the Damned lowers leadership and melee attack, which is really damn good against Khorne, because obviously that's their selling point in both categories. They're a fairly high leadership faction. They've got a lot of frenzy, so there's a lot of ITP early. If you can get that below 50%, though, they lose that immune to psychology, and you do have quite a few fear and terror-causing units that you can rely on as the Vampire Coast, particularly Mournghouls. I was trying to find the ones that got deployed. Oh, there's one over here being bullied by the Throwing Axes. Very sneaky little ambush coming in from Beluga, just like moving these guys right out up onto the point when the Mournghouls move forward and reveal themselves. Keeping a couple back there just for a little jump like that. I really like it. Beluga, this whole tournament, has been playing really smart. He uses a lot of Warhounds, man. I'm not a huge lover of Warhounds, period. Especially not against Undead, because their leadership falters so quickly. You see their Frenzy coming back. Very fortunate for them, because the second Mournghouls catch these hounds, if they ever do, it's going to be game over for the little doggos. But good micro from Beluga, just getting them out of there, not allowing them to be attacked. We got some Marauders being shot to pieces by Deck Gunners here. Deck Gunners are very strong in this matchup. Khorne likes to bring either Marauders or preferably Chaos Warriors. And the Deck Gunners with their Shield Breaker trait are very effective at breaking down both of those units, especially the Marauders, but also pretty damn good against the Chaos Warriors. Getting some good shots against the Gorbeast Chariot. You gotta check the ranges on your opponent's units. Deck Gunners do have fairly long range, but doing your rotations outside of that cone is very important, especially for these very expensive chariots. Gorbeast Chariots are a 1,300 gold unit. Oh, and they get a net, they get netted. Beautiful stuff. Oh my god. Nice use out of that from Aranessa. Beluga not playing around the abilities and the range very well right now, and taking a dive in the front line with the Fury is not amazing. Does get a good dive here against the Deck Gunners with this Fury unit, but Morghuls are right behind to collapse on the Furies. Maybe able to kill them before the Deck Gunners crumble out completely, although it doesn't really look like that's going to happen. Deck Gunners are going to go down, but they already got a decent amount of value, and now a Fury is dying and allowing the Morghuls to get some value back. Khorne obviously losing a lot of value, with Demonic Instability not being reflected up top here. Starting to fall behind already. We've got the Morghuls and Lamprey's Revenge kind of bullying Skulltaker and the Marauders down in this little forested area. Khorne totally pushed off the #1 objective and losing the #3, almost losing the #3. They're barely hanging on to that by the skin of their teeth. Their Marauders just managing to outpace those zombie pirate deckhand mobs. Fury unit here chewing very happily on gunnery mobs, as well as some Scurvy Dogs. Scurvy Dog getting melted by the Marauder and the Chaos Fury combo, but actually breaks the Fury leadership. Again, losing another 650 gold Fury before it pays for itself. Really, really painful. And I know this Fury back here did kill a Deck Gunner. It's about the same amount of money, but that's not really paying very well for a Fury. Furies are the kind of unit, I mean, in a way, they're just like missile troops in that they're a high DPS unit that can be folded up very quickly by your opponent. They need to uptrade by killing 1 or 2 units to really be paying for themselves. If they just get about 700 value, that's fine, but you're really looking for a lot more out of those guys, and especially in this matchup. Vampire Coast has a lot of really flimsy units that Furies are incredible against. Your micro on the Furies is probably the most important component of this matchup, just because so many of your other tools are, you know, a little bit more immobile if they're, you know, like decently survivable and durable. And your throwing axes, they're a really strong unit in this matchup, but against the undead, they're a little bit less potent against the infantry, just because they can't rout the infantry really quickly. You can see getting some good volleys off on the Bloody Reaver Deck Guard here. Scurvy Dogs getting surrounded a little bit. Nice countercharge with the Horsemen for the most part, but there are Lamprey's Revenge in here. And once they start getting those big old claws attacking in against these Horsemen, they're going to start tearing them apart, man. And the Horsemen, with the Scurvy Dogs underneath them now, are really getting folded up quite badly, in fact. Lamprey's Revenge have not been punished by the throwing axes at all. The throwing axes need to be focusing down that unit, while the infantry and the Furies probably should be playing off on the #3 here. Use your mobility out on the #1. You know, all your hounds, your horsemen, maybe get out a marauder over here to protect and screen off units on this side, and then use the throwing axes to just annihilate the Lamprey's Revenge, because this is a very heavily armored unit. The only thing that you've got that can very feasibly kill the Lamprey's Revenge without having to grind out a bunch of like damage against them in melee combat, where these guys' regeneration is going to be very useful for survivability. The throwing axes have fire damage, they got all the armor piercing in the world. That's really the best way to kill them, and it's being neglected a little bit. There has been a lot of disruption out on the side, but part of the problem for Beluga is not having enough units over here. Beluga was just playing a little too spread out. Like, going for all 3 points against the Vampire Coast is actually a bad idea, because Vampire Coast does have quite a few units that can be very disruptive and maneuver around the battlefield without your foreknowledge and pop up in some really awkward places to punish you. Like these Morghuls getting over here and finally helping out the zombie pirate deckhand mobs. These Marauders have been fighting this polearm pretty much the entire game. I mean, and the Morghuls finally being freed up from the middle fight and being able to rotate over with 13 models and pummel this Marauder unit and now get the hunger to heal them up even more. They've got a long way to go still before they die. There's been some really good Fog of the Dams going down. See, the Hounds of the Bloodhunt in here, getting some okay value, but they're fighting the Bloody Reaver Deck Guard. Skulltaker's also in here, a little trapped up. Gorby's Chariot's very ineffectual, man. Very ineffectual. I don't like this unit at all. I think Chariots for Khorne are kind of bad overall, period. They're not very survivable. Their damage is okay. They just don't move very quickly. The Gorpy's Chariot is very slow for something that has 2,000 mass. 66 speed is pretty poor. It makes their charges a little mediocre in my experience. I really wish that their charge speed got buffed. I think that would be a really cool way to make these things more cost effective. As it stands right now, they just kind of float into combat, and they don't really crush through front lines like some of the other heavy chariots in this game. If they were to change that, it might be something that could work out for you. But it's a 1,350 gold unit, and it's sitting here with 387 value, which is absolutely abysmal. You just can't win games if you've got multiple units down trading that badly. Beluga is keeping this very close. There have been some excellent maneuvers elsewhere on the field. And while the Vampire Coast does have a fairly healthy army, a lot of their chaff cover is dead and gone, which is really nice. You do need to actually kill the deckhand mobs at some point in this matchup, because if you leave them around too long, they are pretty good cap weight, and they're so cheap that your opponent can just summon out all of their expensive stuff behind them, get right back up on top of the, like, pistol mobs or the deckhand mobs, as well as, like, depth guard and pole arms and whatnot. And they'll just grind into you, and with the kind of durability that a lot of the Vampire Coast units have because of their hunger or because of regeneration, it can be a little deceptive, your value leads, because if you really want to consider this, a 1,700 gold unit has not died. It's functionally got 3/4 of its units left. It's got a ton of room to get regeneration still, and it's paid for itself. Same with some of these Mournghouls. Mournghoul over here with only 400 value, but this one's gotten 1,300. 850 gold unit with damn good performance, and, you know, also got 10 models left. A little beat up, but all you need is just, like, deckhand mobs underneath your large stuff, as the Vampire Coast. They'll actually do pretty amazingly. They are very well specialized. You know, Mournghouls have good melee attack already at 36, but with the bonus, they become pretty beastly. Skull Taker is not going down. This is the power of our baddie on the motorcycle. He is an absolute lawnmower. Very appropriate considering the noises that the bike makes. And he's just having a good old time. He's collecting a lot of skulls. He's probably not even going to die before this game is over. I mean, he's got his immune to flanking up. That extra armor makes a big difference for him. And once he's exhausted, you can see he's basically at 120, which is his starting, or almost at, he's got 130, okay. Clink of Skulls is only 25. I thought it was 35. But getting him up to almost 120, that's mitigating most base weapon damage. The Bloody River Deck Guard, though, and the Lamprey's Revenge up in here, doing some good work against our boy, and Skulltaker may actually go down. Grinding him out slowly in melee combat like this is a tall order. All it takes is for him to get free and maybe just fight some of these scurvy dogs, and he could get a lot more value. But I do think Khorne is a little bit cooked here. All they've got are Marauders, kind of flooding the field, and now there's a fresh depth guard. There's another depth guard coming up over here. The Mournghouls are still up on the number 3. Khorne doesn't have any objectives, and they really don't have any time to work with. It's the big problem. Bloody Reaver Deck Guard did get their value back. Lamprey's Revenge getting more than theirs. But Skulltaker does end up grinding out a win here. Somehow healing a couple extra ticks on the HP. Maybe Gore Feast lasts a few seconds longer than just like 1 second. Maybe it doesn't have to be in combat the entire time, I guess. Curious how that's coded, because it doesn't really say here. It just says it's an infinite duration when in melee combat. He's going to get up in the Depth Guard. Depth Guard are going to get punished pretty badly by Skulltaker. The Animated Hulks really need to get in here to help out, because Depth Guard take massive casualties from Skulltaker. He is an absolute nightmare for this unit, because his melee attack is pretty incredible as is. He's got 61 at base. He's got the Horn of Khorne there, getting up to 83. And he's got huge weapon strength as well. And what ends up happening with that big weapon strength against units like Depth Guard, he's going to be killing like 3 or 4 models at a time, and the hunger is not going to be coming into play for any kind of healing on these guys. So very quickly they start dropping models, and then they're very ineffectual from there on out. Really nice Fog of the Damned, another one coming down. Not a lot of value on the Fleet Admiral, obviously. Not really a combat character. Done a little bit of damage. Probably used a couple of these taunts, which is another really good debuff. You can just throw it from 100 meters out, and it's going to be affecting whatever you pop it on. And lowering armor speed and melee defense against Khorne. Armor, another big selling point for the Blood God forces. They definitely don't love having to persevere through all of the debuffs that they're being, forced into. Skulltaker got netted. Aranessa coming over to finish. Khorne's just too gassed. Marauders routing out here. Horsemen not going to be able to swing it by themselves with Skulltaker. Skulltaker's amazing, but he just can't carry a game by himself. Skulltaker is honestly at his best when he's able to buff up like a big blob fight, because his increases to melee attack and leadership are crazy. I mean, 16 melee attack and 12 leadership is pretty gross. It makes fights where he's concentrated and giving those increases out to his friends, it's absolutely horrendous for pretty much any faction that they're fighting into. It's one of the reasons that the Vampire Counts matchup is better for Khorne now. Skulltaker is a big part of that. He's pretty hard to kill for the Vampire Counts at times. It is the finals. It was damn good. Damn good game by Rek. Rek coming in with a pretty difficult faction for, beginners, and taking a dub there. Love to see Kislev vs. Dowie. We'll get there for sure, Suga. I'll do that one next if I can find it real quick. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I don't know what the hell... I mean, like I said, tree falling, power lines going down. Absolute insanity. You know how it is. It happens. But everything ended up being okay. It just took them all freaking day to get the power back on, so I just went to the pool. It's too freaking hot to sit in the house, because we're on, like, the main avenue in town, and there's not a lot of trees, so not a lot of shade for the house. It does tend to heat up pretty badly. Let's find us the, where's the Kislev, Dowie game? It's Empire Kislev. I had a lot of Empire versus Kislev games. I was looking through these, when I was able to get back on last night. What the hell is it? So it's not round 5. Send it to me again, because I don't see it in here. Let me go to the Discord. I mean, people are dropping so many replays that sometimes it's very, very easy to pass by stuff unintentionally. Skaven Kislev. I'll do that one too, Tommy. No worries. So, because I'm getting so many replays, it's become pretty difficult to do every single one. I'm going to try and do them all, but I will prioritize people who ask for their replays to be done from here on out. It'll make it a lot easier for me. And it also helps because, those are the people who are actually here to get their replays done. And it's pretty useful to be able to ask questions while you're getting live feedback. Yeah, please, Suga, send me your Kislev Dowie replay, because I don't see it anywhere. How many Dowie? I think I did. That was from 2 weeks ago. I did that one in stream. It was where you brought the double little Grom against the dwarves. You shot them off the point, which was great. You were getting a lot of value, but yeah, you were very much struggling to get up on the objectives because you were throwing your units up a little bit too early, if I remember correctly. You were over pushing against a very durable faction, and while your infantry was solid, you're at a cap disadvantage. So when your infantry were getting ground down before you were taking the objectives, by the time you were able to bring another infantry unit up because your army was so small, your opponent would have either recapped it or they had just held throughout the entire ordeal, and they were replacing all the losses that the little Groms were causing you. It's the same guys fighting? Okay, send it to me. DM me on Discord, man, because I definitely don't have it right now, unfortunately. What was it? Nurgle versus Warriors of Chaos. Wherever they're at. God, I wish there was like a search function that can make this a lot easier. Here it is. Perfect. Alright, so we got Archaon rocking up in here. We got 2 Marauder Horsemasters, 2 Marauder Horsemen, lots of standard Marauder infantry. Soul of Damnation back here. Always a very good unit. Going to be very effective against the Chaos Warriors. Even shooting Tamarkon to the Barons of the Bog wouldn't be bad for it. We'll see how it goes. Tammy is actually kind of a match for Archaon, believe it or not. Oh my god, and he's on Boobalos. No freaking way, dude. Crazy heavy metal choice there. We got Spirit Leech and Purple Sun of Xerius for the magic. Very interesting to see people bringing Purple Sun more. I've been impressed by it a couple of times. I think it's a little too inflexible. Direct damage is just way more efficient oftentimes, so Buna is typically a little better, but now that Buna's been nerfed so many times, maybe Purple Sun of Xerius has a chance to shine. Like I said, a few times it's been used very well. It's just the problem that Vortexes tend to be a lot less efficient at times because of that randomized Vortex movement. Makes things a little bit variable, and that can be a real pain in the ass. Buna being consistent damage all the time is just, you know, good to have. You always want your damage to be reliable. Like, if a unit can get, like, double its cost back, but it's infrequent, then there's not really a great usage case for it. It was a pretty good breath attack. Did a little bit of damage to the Horsemasters. Took 6 models out. Also a decent amount of HP. I've been pretty impressed with the Unspeakable Foulness lately. Very, very early Purple Sun here. Definitely not how you want to use that. Nobody's going to get caught in that. People in multiplayer are very well tuned and aware of what's going on with most of their units at any one time. So the Horsemen just dodge out of there. Furies do get on top of the Soul of Damnation here, which is really painful. The crew is barely alive. Good micro getting them off of the cannon and moving them back into the Marauder unit. And the Fury does get countercharged by the Knights of Immolation. They're going to go down really hard. Doom Knights are the perfect counter for Furies. They absolutely annihilate these guys. And crumble them out pretty aggressively. So, you know, Knights of Immolation with only 245 value here, quote-unquote. Pretty, you know, pretty deceptive. You can chalk up another, like, 300 onto that in terms of, like, actual damage that they dealt with all the crumbling that happened with those poor Furies. Good focus fire from the Javelins, wearing out some of the Chaos Warriors. Tons of damage on these guys already. They are persevering, though, and we do get a couple of very healthy Chaos Warriors attacking the Marauder front line for the Warriors of Chaos here. Good shot from the Soul of Damnation now that it's online. Tamarkon scrapping against Archaon, gets hit by a Spirit Leech. Archaon with all the buffs right now, and good focus fire from those Javelins, man. Good grief, the Javelin fire has been vicious so far. Tamarkon's running into a lot of problems. He doesn't have a ton of armor on Boobalos. It's not terrible at 60, but definitely leaves a lot to be desired. He's pretty reliant on the Nurgle's Favored Son, as well as the missile resistance for surviving a lot of that kind of focus fire. And he is getting pushed back, and there's a couple of Marauder Horsemen maneuvering over. Looks like they outshot the Nurgle throwing axes, which isn't too surprising. Nurgle throwing axes are really powerful at pure missile trades against other Chaos skirmishers. But throwing axes are pretty inaccurate at their max range. And the missile speed is very slow, so javelins overall, as long as they're able to just hit in against the armor and just stay persistent poking against the shield, they usually are going to be able to wear out the Nurgle throwing axes pretty quickly. Another Fury Dive coming in, Knights of Immolation a little out of position, nothing back here to protect. I mean, just keeping the Marauder back here the whole time would be just fine. I mean, the Soul of Damnation is your value trade tool anyways. Is it going to be able to be recruited with 3 guys? I keep forgetting how many you need. I think 3 is enough. You really just want to keep this alive, and it'll be able to pummel the enemy infantry here. One second, guys. Boobalow's with another really good breath attack, but he's so beat up now. And Nurgle not having any healing magic is pretty unfortunate. I was thinking that it might be kind of cool to see Tamarcon and the Spirit Leech caster try and snipe out Arkan, but it's been a little too scattershot for Nurgle's pushes. They don't have any way to punish the Horsemen at all. The Soul of Damnation is just killing Tamarcon now. It's already done some pretty decent damage to one of the Chaos Warriors. All the Fury Dives, you know, they've just been throwing Furies back here, and at this point, you know, you've killed 1,300 gold's worth of Chaos Furies. If this third one does kill the Soul of Damnation, it's barely even working out for you. I mean, as Nurgle, you've kind of pigeonholed yourself into committing to killing this thing at this stage of the game. You definitely want to be motoring back here. Don't want to be so lackadaisical with it, because you've lost Tamarcon, your leadership is pretty horrendous, and the Soul of Damnation also imbues lots of leadership malices of its own. And that's really, really unfortunate, man. So, Nurgle looking like they're on the way out. Soul of Damnation is going to be going down here. But another Fury fed to the Knights of Immolation, I think, is going to be the status quo here. Forsaken on the outside are getting focus fire from throwing axes. Some pretty good positioning here. Definitely want to make sure that they're maybe a little bit more up on the side of the unit to fire in. I don't know why they haven't been firing their volleys off. They've been very reluctant to do so. Now getting a little damage on these Forsaken. But the Rotting Riders very close by now and able to close the gap and are going to quickly tear apart this poor throwing axe unit. Very brutal engagement for Nurgle, and they do get terror routed, in fact. And we have the Nurglings crumbling over here. Faster and stronger units nearby, turning into a big issue, and yep, ouchies. You know, Nurglings are a very great line holder unit, but they don't really do damage, and you definitely have to be able to throw support over, or else they just die horrifically. Good value on the Knights, getting overhead with Searing Torrent, beautiful drop. Pretty thorough outmaneuvering here. Rodlaus' build is just not very attuned to fighting the Warriors of Chaos. It was a very weak to kite build, and you did a really good job of punishing that, Tommy. Pretty much expertly. Taking out your opponent's Rotting Riders over here too with your own. On a good collapse from the rear with the Hellstriders, as well as some of the Rotting Horsemasters. Archaon getting in here and providing all the buffs too. A lot of extra damage and damage mitigation from the extra stats. This is the kind of fight where I definitely see the value of having Armor of Morkar and Fight or Die. Has definitely swung this very forcefully in favor of Tommy. Not that it was really needed. There was a pretty thorough surround. But every little bit helps, you know. Just a decisive win over there has 100% guaranteed a full tabling of Nurgle here. They got the Frolickers Bubonic out, and that's literally it, so very clean win there. Thank you, dude. How many Dowie? All the Dowie, dude. There's never a lack of them. Which is funny, because lore-wise, you would think that they're, you know, basically on death's door. So that's the vibe the Gotrek and Felix books always gave off. Alright. Where is it? Hello? I just moved it into my folder. Oh, do I need to... Ah, there we go, okay. So let's see... Oh, different build. I like this one. One little Grom gonna be in here. We got double cannon. Oh, and you're right, it is Hattie who you were playing against that last time. It's definitely more prepared for the little Groms this time around. Armored Kossars, you know, good unit. Gotta keep them away from the blasting charges, because they've got solid armor values, but blasting charges still do pretty respectable damage to them.
Protects you. I protect you. Take not one step backwards.
What the hell is she? Oh, she's over here. Oh, and Zarina Katerin is on the ice sled. Excuse me. Very powerful mount. It's got a ton of mass. Does a lot of damage, and it's quick. It's pretty hard to shut Zarina down when she's on this thing. It was banned for a long time when it first got released, but it's been attuned to be a little bit more balanced now, while still retaining its overall strengths and qualities. They did a pretty good job with it. 2 light war sleds moving up to the number 3. The cannon's looking to get in range. You definitely don't want to let chariots get hit by cannons. Cannons just pour damage into these like particular unit variants very painfully. I'm not sure if there's still funky double hitting nonsense with chariot models. It seems like every now and then, sometimes. Just vibes based, I guess, no real hard data on it, that sometimes chariots do take extra damage from the cannons, and Dowie artillery in general is just very accurate and can do a really good job of punishing against very low entity units like this. And maybe it's just the fact that the cannonballs can potentially pierce through. So Zarina and the sleds are trying to get all the way up into the backline to take down the cannons. You don't need to circumvent Slayers. Slayers actually don't have enough mass to stop chariots from charging through them. Especially stuff like Light War sleds and Zarina's sled, which have like 2,000 plus mass. These Slayers could just get totally bulldozed right now. There's no reason to respect them currently. You can push in and out of them at will, more often than not. The light war sleds are maybe a little slow overall. Definitely do want to be a little careful with them. But you're not committing to killing the cannons at all. So I don't really know why you maneuvered back here to begin with, honestly. If you're not going to commit to this attempt with your sleds to kill the cannons, you shouldn't go back here at all, because the cannons do turn pretty slow. And they are going to have to, like, recrew the artillery pieces, but they're still alive, and you took a bunch of damage, and now they're going to be able to turn and just start laying waste to you again. And you're skirmishing very nicely against the dwarves over here. It's gone pretty well. You're wearing down the Thane very effectively with Little Grom. He's got about 700 value. Used a little less than half the ammo, too, so very much on its way to paying for itself. You're running out of ammo on some of these armored Kossars. There are still a lot of Dowie infantry here. Most of the miners have been damaged in some way. One of the blasting charges is basically on the way out here. Gonna get a blasting charge volley off on the armored Kossars. You can see the damage that they do. And that's only with the 37 models available. And they might be able to get another charge shot off here. The reload time is pretty bad on them, so they may end up routing before they're able to. Yeah, it looks like they're going to break just before they're able to fire in. Good harass with the chariots on this side of the field on this number 2 objective. Things in the Woods do have a good charge bonus. You really want them to be able to utilize that, and Dowie warriors have charge defense versus large. The chariots are on the side of the unit. You could use them to charge through both of these dwarf warriors and then have the Things in the Woods follow that up. And that would be a lot more effective damage for you. That would be where my money would be. It's just free value, basically, doing that, because not only do you get the charge bonus from the sleds and all that oodles and oodles of chariot damage onto dwarves, the AP monstrous infantry, I guess, like a hybrid monstrous cavalry almost. God, dude, just watching them bounce the Dowie back and forth is diverting as hell. It's very hard to focus on it. Love watching the animations in this game sometimes. You got the Armored Kossars on the other side getting in over here. And maybe the Dowie are going to lose this point. You got the Streltsy coming out now, which is going to be a really good tool for shooting the Dowie warriors as they're turned and occupied by some of these chariots and also the Things in the Woods. The cannons are back online, though, and they're going to start screening out this entire point. This is like the Dowie's just dream, you know? 2 artillery pieces on the field, posted up, able to cover 2 objectives. They reinforce those 2 objectives all game. They bring out a bunch of Slayers to like protect the midfield and the back line, help reinforcements get all the way up to the objectives, set up firing positions, and they just blast people away from them all game. And Hattie's done a very good job of keeping the number 1 objective well secured. Katarina has just not gotten a lot of damage. You've been very, very tentative with charging the chariots into the Dowie units, and that's a big mistake. Because the chariots can do a ton of damage to dwarf warriors, as well as miners. They would be absolutely flattening these guys right now, and it would make you a little safer from the cannon fire. Because the Dowie cannons don't really want to shoot friendlies. The more time you spend like in the middle and in the midst of Dowie units, the less opportunity the cannons have to get effective volleys off on you. And you've seen the shooting going on all game so far. Only about 500 value on Zarina. She's been dropping some magic too. And then the light war sleds have been firing all game so far, and they really haven't done a whole lot. Only 300 value on each of those 1150 gold chariots. Definitely not going to be cutting it. Good counterfire on the Iron Drake Trollhammer torpedoes. Little Grom able to take them down. Has 2 more shots. Probably just want to hit the Thane 2 times. We'll see how Kislev's able to resolve combat over here. The momentum is just so slow. This is like the eternal penalty of playing into the Dowie. If they're really patient and they just outlast you, sometimes, even if they're not doing tremendous amounts of damage to you, it can be just basically impossible to finish them. That was a beautiful shot from Little Grom, by the way. Immediate unsummon, very good call. Want to get that back in the pool so you can bring it back out ASAP. Got about 900 gold from that unsummon, which is amazing stuff. Definitely could be bringing out some Zargard or something. I'm not sure what your reinforcements are. I like to find out over the course of a game and take a good guess. Got a lot of Griffin Legion coming in. Okay, we'll see if the Griffin Legion even makes it to the cannon. This is a long dash, guys. This map is gigantic. Very lucky that Hattie is still trying to shoot the light war sleds instead of focus firing on the Griffin Legion here, because you could theoretically just fire 2 volleys and kill the entire unit right now. Some of the cannon models did die earlier, so there's at least that, but it's only 1 off of... Oh, it's only 1 total? Wait, what's going on here? It says 4 cannon models. There's only 3 showing in the unit. Same over here. There's 2 destroyed pieces. What the hell? Okay, that's really weird. That's an odd little tooltip glitch. But 3 cannons in each of these units. Turning a little too late and actually get caught by the Griffin Legion. Really, really nice for Suga there. Good catch. Little slow on the draw from Hattie. Definitely need to be hyper aware of your artillery in this matchup. Kislev, all they need to do is get 1 artillery, or not 1 artillery, 1 cavalry unit back on the artillery to completely kill them. Because the shock damage from the Griffin Legion and Winged Lancers, even Costified Dervishes, is just way too much for the 40 armor that these cannon crews have. Dowie cannon crews are more durable because they have more HP and leadership, not because they have better like stats or anything. Their armor is still really weak. They still run really slow. Their melee attack and melee defense is like 2 higher than the other variants in the game, which is not saving them from much of anything. Iron Drake Trollhammer torpedoes firing away here. I don't know what they're shooting at. Oh, they're trying to shoot the chariot, and they're firing over the top of it. Bro, does the chariot have a bugged hitbox again? Are we discovering some forbidden knowledge here? So what's happening here is that the Iron Drake Trollhammer torpedoes are shooting at the horses. They're not shooting at the main body of the chariot. And the main body of the chariot has a little bit of like a box that's a little taller than the horses are. So when the enemies are like focus firing and trying to shoot the horses, oftentimes they just fire wildly over the top of it. They are getting a few hits in here. It's a little discomforting. That just completely ignored damage. Oh my god, not again, dude. That was one of the things that made this chariot wildly overpowered before.
You have the foe's victory point.
A little awkward for the dwarves for sure, but they're getting wins elsewhere. You got Griffin Legion here being taken down. The Griffin Legion back here, very fortunate they were able to take those cannons out. It is giving the Kislevites a little bit of an opportunity to get back in this game. A lot of Streltsy coming up on the field. Only 1 war sled left. See a bunch of them dead over here. A couple have collapsed there. Looking like some pretty rickety contraptions as of right now. Things of the Woods running all over the Dowie Warriors and the Miners, and now Griffin Legion looking to get into the rear of this fight. Potentially swing that, and Kislev finally has the #1 objective, but god damn, it's just been way too long out in the cold for the Kislevites. It's been a fairly long game, but if you have 1 objective all game, you can just brute force the Dowie off of them and fully secure the objective, then you have plenty of time to skirmish over the others. And on this map, I would highly recommend just having all your forces start out over on this side of the map. Because, you know, Dowie just love artillery. They will bring it anytime they can feasibly use it. It's a very good artillery map for the most part. This is your 1 protected area. You should always try and control this area early game as a faction that's trying to avoid the Dowie cannons. Because if you had the light war sleds over here, your opponent did have a lot of infantry. He didn't really have any slayers or any real shooting. Those light war sleds could have just had a field day with Zarina, running all over the Miners, over the Thane, anything and everything that they choose. And the cannons don't have a very good angle of fire. I mean, they have to come like all the way over here to get shots off, and they still are, you know, at like max range at that stage. It can be a little difficult for the Dowie to position to get their stuff in position to fire support. Trying to take advantage of that and avoid as much damage as possible would help you out a lot. Hate chasing that chariot. It's hard to catch too. Its mass means it can push out a lot out of quite a few bad situations. The Dowie were very patient and persistent. They got really good value out of the cannons. Not super surprising. They're one of the best artillery pieces in the game. Iron Drake Trollhammer torpedoes, a couple of them were okay. That's a lot of torpedoes to bring. I don't know if you need 4 of them, but I guess it's not terrible. There are a lot of cav units that Kislev can throw up. They're decent against the infantry. They've got good range. Yeah, maybe they're the way to go. Very interesting. Hattie played very clean here. We've got a Shredder of Lustria build. So let's just go ahead and check that out. This is the Inticity special. You got Mazda Mundi with a bunch of spells. You got some heals. You got Harmonic Convergence. You got Net of Ammontok. You got the Shredder of Lustria, of course, and then you've got the Solar Engine to keep everything at perfect vigor with 2 Skink Skirmishers. The Skink Skirmishers, all you do with these guys is follow directly behind the single entity blob. And what happens is the Lizardmen move up to a point with all their stuff, and then the Skink Skirmishers cap the objective while your opponent tries to run away. And then in the late game, as you develop out more infantry and more mobility, then you can branch out to some of the other points independent of the Shredder and Mazda and the Solar Engine, who just continue to go ham on their opponent's main formation if possible. Horsemen charging down the Skink Skirmishers and wrecking these poor little skinks. They're very squishy. They don't have a lot of armor. HP is pretty mediocre as well. So even though the Marauder Horsemen aren't that much stronger in melee, they are able to win this fight pretty decisively just with the double team there. It would be nice to see one unit fix in the front and the other loop around the back to get the rear charge. But as it stands, very, very nice looking for the Warriors of Chaos off the bat up top there. Fighting the Shredder of Lustria with Archeon head-to-head. He does get hit by Net of Ammontok, but now Fight or Die and the Armor of Morcar are coming in super clutch against the Shredder. You got the Chaos Warrior Halberds in here. Ruination of Cities goes down, but doesn't quite get enough damage. We're going to get a Bomb Drop here. Rock Drop. Rock Drop. Rock City. No Rock City. A little bit too tardy on that from Sean. Be very devastating right now. There's no reason to not drop it still. Eventually, though, these infantry are going to get spread out enough that the damage won't really be coming in. Oh, they already dropped it. Oh, that's why. Okay. I don't know when they dropped it. Must have not done nearly as much as I was hoping for. Archeon's still fighting toe-to-toe against the Shredder. The leadership on the Shredder of Lustria is actually looking a little bit porous right now. It has taken a lot of damage, but still got 6,000 health. Mazda just needs to drop Apotheosis on this literally the rest of the game. Really nice Spirit Leech here. Definitely want to get away from this thing right now. Good call. Pulling Archie back a little bit. Pterodon's going for the kill on the Soul Damnation crew. Good response from the Hellstriders. Now the Slaughter Guard are out. Slaughter Guard going to be very strong here. Very high leadership unit, so they're avoiding a lot of the penalties that the Dread Saurian applies, which is not only the damage by artillery, but also the Dread Aversion, which is a minus 18 by itself. And lots of units don't have ITP in any form, so against those kind of units with the Causes Fear, that's another minus 8. Shredder of Lustria can very feasibly take 26 leadership off of any units that are nearby it, because all of the little skinks on top apply that damage by artillery debuff. It's a little bizarre. I wish it was a little less powerful. I don't see why it needs to be applying like that. Because it's just so damn hard to work around the Shredder as a result. If they took the damage by artillery leadership debuff off the Shredder, I think it would actually be pretty balanced. It's doing a lot of damage here, but Archeon has been really persistent, and the Spirit Leeches combined with the fire from the Soul Damnation, a little bit of Javelin fire, as well as all the halberds underneath of it, have worn this big monster out pretty badly, and it is actually broken, and Archeon looking to finish it off. It does get the Apotheosis on the way out. 445 HP with Archeon poisoned, but trying to close the gap. Beautiful Spirit Leech and a shot from the Soul Damnation takes down the big dino. That's basically game. There is really nothing that the Lizardmen are going to be able to do now. The best thing they could have done is gotten the Shredder and Mazda Mundi and just bum rush the Soul of Damnation, because Mazda and the Shredder have the mass to be able to push in and out of fights pretty easily. If they get back here on the Soul of Damnation early enough, they can probably kill this thing and then maneuver back to the middle objective to avoid any retaliation from like Rotting Riders or Slaughter Guard or anything like that. Actually it took a long time to take down Mazda Mundi here, but the Slaughter Guard are equal to the task, 2,800 on them. Archeon with almost 5,000 value. 4,400 as it stands, plenty of time to grind out another 500 plus. I don't imagine the game will go on much longer. You got some burning heads that you could use as well to clear out some of these skinks. You don't really need to do it. It's probably worth it just to hold on to it. Brutal damage. The Rotting Riders are so strong on the charge, man. Especially against low armor units. The extra damage from the base weapon strength that the Rotting Riders have, combined with the charge bonus, starts to stack up and multiply pretty quickly. It's that little bit of extra damage that causes them to do what you just saw, where they literally charge in and take about, 3/4 of the HP off a unit with one go. Really good stuff. Shaw went for a risky build. It didn't pay off. That happens sometimes. Warriors of Chaos are one of the better factions at killing the Shredder of Lustria, because they've got a lot of ways to kill it from afar. Soul of Damnation does good damage to it. Archie with Spirit Leech, obviously. Marauder Horseman, very effective against it. Even the Javelin variants have good AP, so against a big target like this, they very rarely miss. They still stack their damage up nicely. There's also Slaughter Guard and the Rotting Riders. Hellstriders can be a good distraction as well, because they don't tear out when they're underneath the Shredder. Which is very important, because, again, all the leadership debuffing effects stack up really badly and cause a lot of inopportune terror routes. Alright. Any requests? Otherwise, I'm going to go get my coffee and we'll just pick out something random. This might actually be what we watch. In fact, Demons of Chaos are a rare sighting, and Khorne into Demons of Chaos can be not so great matchup at times. But we'll see how it goes here. In my experience, Exalted Bloodthirsters with Karanak are a great character sniping combo, thanks to Deathbringer, as well as the Snare. It becomes very difficult to work around these two characters when they're in total sync with one another. So give me a sec, I'll be right back. We'll get it going. Alright, took me a little longer. I was meal coordinating with a housemate. I'm planning on making a whole bunch of stuff after stream here. We got plenty of time though to keep doing games. We start at 3. I'm planning on doing like a 3.5, 4 hour stream. Should be able to get through them all. Against Spida, Empire, and Chorfs in round 4. I'll do that one next. I'm really curious about this Demons of Chaos matchup. Khorne has good tools. I actually think this is a matchup where you just equal the Demons of Chaos in like numbers of demonic units.
Endless blood for the blood god.
Hell yeah. Love the Exalted Bloodthirster. It's a very underrated lord in my opinion. It may not be the strongest on the Khorne roster. These guys are absolutely insane on the Demons of Chaos roster. Because the way Demons of Chaos work is they charge their army abilities by doing damage. The Exalted Great and Clean One's actually pretty good because it has the Mortis engine. That charges up the army abilities for demons pretty quickly. But on the Exalted Bloodthirster, when you're using it on the Demons of Chaos, you can just bring a Plague Caster, whatever the Plague-ridden character, with the Nurgle magic, and be able to heal the Exalted Bloodthirsters with Fleshy Abundance, which is so crazy. These guys are pretty hard to kill. They've got good armor. They've got good HP pools. I think it could stand to be a little bit higher, just because, for God's sakes, it's a Bloodthirster. Should be able to fight and have a lot of HP for the prolonged engagements that it should theoretically be looking for. And they can be very good at racking up damage quickly. The reason that they don't do nearly as well on the Khorne roster is Khorne just doesn't synergize around them very well, which is absolutely ridiculous to say. You would figure that wouldn't be the case, but Demons of Chaos have they also have Karanak. They've got a lot of other quick units that can support the Bloodthirster really well. Really, all you have for Khorne that can support an Exalted Bloodthirster if it's trying to dive aggressively is stuff like Furies and Fleshhounds. Minotaurs are a little too slow, unfortunately. Demons of Chaos, or the Demons of Chaos have Seekers and Heartseekers, all kinds of crazy 100-speed units with like poison and AP that can follow up the Bloodthirster attracting attention and really causing good punishes. Khorne doesn't have a way to punish you for blobbing up on their characters. And then you can just surround stuff like the Exalted Bloodthirster and keep them locked on the ground and eventually just grind them out, and that's a huge penalty for Khorne. It's a little funky, the way these Bloodthirsters work. I just want to see them change a little bit. I want them to have just like a little bit of something extra, because right now they're just a little bit on the weak side, especially considering, you know, they're like the calling card, like mainstay lord on release. It seems a little ridiculous that they're still so mediocre. They look badass though. God, they look so freaking cool. Anyways, we're getting out here on the flank. We've got Karanak going after the Exalted Flamer. Karanak will kill this thing in about 5 hits. He's got great melee attack. 65 versus 20. He's got a ton of weapon strength. Most of it being base weapon strength. Doesn't matter against 10 armor. He's trying to hit this damn thing. Struggling a little bit here. Does get a good swing in there. Howling at the poor little Exalted Flamer. It takes about 600 HP off of it. We do get the Exalted Bloodthirster landing in on the Hellforge Bellers as well. Really nice collapse. A lot of the powerful units being occupied very nicely by Khorne currently. Actually keep Karanak in here. Karanak's really good against the Exalted Great and Clean ones. He does good damage. He obviously has the brass collar, so he silences the big boys. It doesn't get rid of the Pestilent Decay or Fetid Stench, unfortunately, but at the very least you're not having to deal with heals, as well as Blight Swarm, which can be very painful to deal with. And Seth has a really nice value lead right now. The Forsaken got up into a bunch of really nice combats, a lot of Nurglings in the front line. I just don't like the Nurglings, man. The Exalted Flamers and the Hellforge Bellower can work against Khorne, but I think you really need some powerful melee troops in the Khorne matchup. I really like just Bloodletters for the Demons of Chaos here. As good as the Exalted Grand Unclean One can be, stuff like this can happen where they just aren't able to keep their much weaker units alive, either because of, either because of getting sniped themselves and having to use the heals selfishly, or they just get countered by Karanak, shutting down their magic for like half the game. Minotaur's coming in, helping to grind down some of the last Nurglings here. Ton of infantry left for Khorne. Exalted Bloodthirster going ham in the backline. It takes down some more units here. Thought it killed the Exalted Flamer for a second, but it's right there. Hellforge Bellowers firing him point blank and really not doing a lot of damage. It's very weak to single entities. Hellforge Bellowers is good against infantry as well as cavalry to a limited extent. Really good against flying units. Very, very good for keeping pressure up on flyers. This unit is an auto-include against Tzeentch, the Hellforge Bellowers, in my experience, because of that. Really good into Nurgle, Angels of Decay, and Changebringers. Both very scary units, and the Hellforge Bellowers does a pretty good job of controlling that, but not going to be doing a whole lot to anything else in the Khorne army. It's just going to be a little too much to have to get through everything now. Minotaurs and the Bloodthirster on top of the Great Unclean One now. Minotaurs would actually lose the one-on-one versus the Great Unclean One just because of the Mortis engine. It actually does pretty good damage to monstrous units. You can see these guys getting worn out just by that. And the Exalted Great Unclean Ones, very strong in melee combat. Huge weapon strength as well. If it were attacking the Minotaurs here, it would be taking one model down at a time. It's a lot of damage to have, like, racking up on you, with a Mortis engine also lowering the HP of the rest of the force. Really brutal engagement here, man. The Demons of Chaos just get thoroughly out-traded thanks to a better quality frontline for Khorne. I really don't like Marauders in this matchup too often because they tend to just get massacred by demonic infantry, but against a whole bunch of Blue Horrors and Nurglings, with the fact that the Hellforge Bellowers and the Exalted Flamer were shut down early, it did allow the infantry to get up and grind out the Nurglings pretty effectively. Decent value on a lot of the Marauders here. Yeah. Gotta give Seth some serious credit here. This is a rough matchup for Khorne. But there were a lot of inefficient units being used by the Demons of Chaos, in my opinion. More Fiends is really good. The Angels of Decay, I think, are just outright better than the Hellforge Bellowers here. Because they can actually scrap against the Exalted Bloodthirster pretty okay. They've got pretty good stats themselves. If you heal them up, they're going to be doing just fine into the Bloodthirster. And it keeps the Bloodthirster from going anywhere else, right? Like, he can't land on the ground if the Angels of Decay are on the field, because they'll just annihilate him with their missile attacks. And with good micro in the air, they can also get some damage on him with the grenades. Karanak is a really good unit here. I think he's better in reserve, personally. He doesn't always provide you a ton of value early on against the Demons of Chaos. Here, though, he had a lot of opportunities to fight things other than the Exalted Great Unclean One. And there wasn't a lot to punish him. Like, there's no Shrieking Skyrays out early, no Fiends on the field. Hounds of the Bloodhunt are actually really strong against Karanak, because they silence him in return. Or, they don't silence him completely, but they negate his magic damage. Which means that he is pretty inefficient at chipping them down, and they get a lot of value out of their Gore Feast as a result. It's pretty nice for countering the bad boy here. And they've got good enough mass so that they can keep Karanak totally locked in if they surround him. Love to see people talking through their games in chat. Let me go find that one. I want to see what you guys are talking about. I'm very curious. It's round 4. Chorf's Empire. No idea what the reserves are. We're going to play a guessing game with it. We can see the beginner forces here, and I do like it from both sides. You know, nice net build here for Melkor. Engineer, very good at poking down single entities. His little Outrider repeater gun is crazy accurate. He does so much work. And I like the Nolan Ironside inclusions, too. They're a solid unit. I have been really enjoying these guys. Yeah, their armor is a little weak, but it's better than a handgunner, and they fire so fast that the fewer models on the Nolan Ironsides as opposed to the handgunners really doesn't hurt the Nolan Ironsides much. When they get Black Powder Discipline active and they get that extra reload skill, I think they go down to 6.5 seconds, or maybe even 6 seconds. And then they get 40 accuracy, so they hit like a freaking truck if they get dug in. And it's a pretty short duration that they have to be stationary, only 10 seconds.
Keep it from the foe.
I really like those dig-in abilities. I really would like to see CA play around with it more, especially in 40k, because there's going to be factions that outright should have their entire faction identity built around that, like, what is it, the Iron Hands? The Chaos Legion, where they just are like an unbreakable, impenetrable rock, and are like siegecraft experts. They would love to have dig-in type of effects for their faction. So, Empire's doing a very good job of taking high ground here. Nolan Ironsides from the high ground here. If you get one here, maybe another one like right here, and then you can have like a nice concave, you can cover a lot of the number 2 objective here. And then you can just get your infantry in, like, right underneath all of the supporting fire. And with high ground positions, gun lines are very good at shooting into melee fights, because they have great LOS at that point. Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders did cap the middle. They're going to get up in the trees just to avoid any cannon fire. Very good call. Cannons on this map have some good spots. This is one of the better ones, because you just get the whole canyon to fire into. With a little bit of extra range buffing, you could even hit the home objective. Empire doesn't really have anything like that. I think maybe their engineer has something like that as a passive ability, but it's not on this guy. Mercurial Shot is here instead. Make sure that you are zoomed in and you know where it is that this is going. Right here is good enough. Okay. So, Empire getting ready to shoot down some of the Chaos Dwarf Warriors with the artillery, perhaps. It really wouldn't be a bad choice of target. You do want to hit the Infernal Fireglaves as much as possible, but they're just out of range of the cannon crew right now. Did Deathstreak shoot? What the hell is the shot? What the hell is this? What? Huh? That... What the hell just happened? Did that shot land somewhere? I have no idea what happened. It just disappeared. Am I crazy? Am I losing it? I don't know. I could have sworn they fired at this Nolan Ironside with the rocket, but then it stopped. Maybe there's a way to cancel the shots and still use the ammo? I'm a little baffled. Really good damage from the engineer. For whatever reason, this guy's missiles also like pierce through shields. Does a shit ton of damage. He's wearing out the Chaos Dowry Warriors pretty badly right now. Look at the damage he's doing, man. Oh my god. He's killing another like 6 models here. He's got a ton of ammunition on top of it all. It's pretty insulting how strong these guys are against shielded infantry. I don't know if that needs to stay, personally, because engineers are already cost-effective enough. Being able to kill shielded infantry, I think, might be a little bit overkill, because theoretically that's one of the things that Empire struggles the most with, and There's a lot of limitations that come with bringing shielded infantry. Just having the ability to bring an engineer and just absolutely annihilate them for free might be a little overkill, in my opinion, because the Empire does have lots of other shooting. And Nolan Ironsides may not be great against Chaos Dwarf Warriors, but some good positioning and creeping them up on the sides of flanks and shooting down formations, they can get great value by hitting enfilades. Iron Demon gets netted by Marcus. The Netta Amatok went in on the Sorcerer Prophet. And just gets absolutely hammered here by the Nolans. It might not even make it into melee combat. It is very close to dying here. One Nolan Ironside is very obstructed. You gotta be very careful of this. That's why I would like to see one just sitting up here. Because with that range, it could just cover like all of these avenues. And have a good line of sight onto any flanks on the other side of the front line. So what you can do is you can like push up the swordsman to sit here. Get this spearman a little farther forward here. The other spear can sit there. You have another spear here, I guess. Because you do want to protect your number 3 objective. I don't mind having a bunch of infantry back here. And you can have like the swordsman on the crew. It would just mean that you don't have one of your very expensive gun units just totally inactive for a large portion of the game so far. It's been a little unfortunate. Deathstreak Rocket almost hits the Nolan Ironsides. This thing's been useless so far. Only 168 value and 8 kills. And really not cutting it right now. Melkor getting a really nice value lead. We do get the Chaos Dowie Warriors up in the front line. Mercurial Shot doing a lot of friendly fire, but appreciable enough damage to the Chaos Dwarf Warriors who are more expensive for it to be worth it, I would say. Really good stuff. Another Netta Amatok coming down. The Sorcerer Prophet could die here. Oh my god, no. Oh no, buddy. Oh my goodness. Nolan Ironsides from every angle, just about. One of them does get hit pretty hard by the Demolition Rocket, or the Deathstreaker ammunition there. Takes quite a bit of HP work. Still got a lot of models. We get another net over the top of it. Oh my god. The cooldown stacking. Beautiful here. Yeah, Melkor just laying waste to the Bale Taurus character. Opting to bring Searing Doom against the Empire is not a bad idea because of how many knights they can bring. Burning Head is also a solid option. There's a lot of ways you can go in terms of Magic, and a lot of matchups. Magic is honestly in a pretty good state. It's a little overrepresented by a handful of spells, but most of the lores are competitive in that they at least have like 1 or 2 spell options that you can bring. Fire Magic really only has one that's like amazing, and that's Burning Head. And Metal Magic has Plague of Rust and Searing Doom, both of which are excellent at clearing out heavily armored units and punishing blob fights. Plague of Rust not so good for the blob fights, I guess. The Searing Doom is really what you want to use that for, but Plague of Rust you can hammer like the Empire Knights with it, get their armor down to about 50, and then they can get shot to death by just about anything. But that's going to be impossible. You know, obviously you lost your caster. You got the Kadai Fireborn being shot up. They're fighting spears as well, not getting a lot of good value. The Nolan Ironside's going absolutely crazy right now. One of them has 1,500 value currently. How are the others doing? It's 1,100 on that one. Really great job. And the Engineer's scrapping in melee. Just helping wear out some of these Chaos Dowie Warriors. That Deathstreak still trying to get some value. God, dude, it's been so inaccurate. I would say this is the opportunity to shoot at the Nolans, because they're set up now. They're getting that Black Powder Discipline going. Deathstreak Rocket onto these guys right now would be absolutely devastating. It does so much damage to bunched up units. And passing up on it is something you really can't afford right now. God, dude, again, another wildly inaccurate shot from the Deathstreak rocket launcher. Honestly, I think this Deathstreak has been the biggest culprit behind the Chaos Dwarves' loss here, because I think the lack of damage from the Deathstreak early and the good micro from Melkor maybe stressed Spida out a little bit, and then, like, maybe got him convinced that he should just go for the dive with the infantry and the big single entities. And then getting punished by the nets is just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back here. It's very hard to deal with the Empire when they go with the double net build. The best thing you can do against a double net Empire build is to literally build your entire army up onto the field. And do your very best to poke the edges of their formation and get some functional damage so you can then accomplish a breakthrough somewhere and try and get through onto their missile pieces. Because if you can do that in one push rather than attempting it multiple times, if you do enough damage to the Empire army, then the net magic doesn't even matter anymore, right? Having a counter for the Nolan Ironsides and killing them would functionally mean that the nets are worthless. Because it's really with shooting that Net of Amantok and the Hunter Snare become effective, because if you net something in melee, at the end of the day, you still need stuff to like keep that unit locked in combat and do damage to it. And it can always find a way to pull out. Range damage when you're netted is pretty much unavoidable. And you just see how often it's being used to accumulate disgusting value. And the Iron Demon, even as it gets free, is just now in a horrible position because it's been netted and it can't go anywhere. If it runs away, it's taken a bunch of damage already, and it's going to have a hard time re-engaging because there's going to be another net coming off of cooldown by the time it gets back in. And then if you suicide charge it like this, it just gets filled full of lead in late games where you just don't have anything locking down the missile troops. This was honestly just a little bit of like a whammy from every single angle from the Empire, which can happen. Oh, the Iron Warriors. Okay, thank you. The flesh is weak. Has anybody seen Videodrome? That's got a really good, like, chaos theme to it. It's a David Cronenberg movie. Have you ever seen, like, The Fly or Scanners? It's another good movie of his that you should see. Manually, yeah, dodging the Death Shriek is kind of difficult, but if you're able to pull it off, it's huge. I think that was the ticket to success, Melkor. Was your cannon was shooting the Death Shriek, really? I literally didn't notice. I thought it was shooting infantry in the front line. Usually cannons do good damage to the Death Shriek rockets. I'm a little surprised it didn't do anything else. Exalted Flamer is kind of underwhelming. It can be. Exalted Flamers are very micro-dependent. It's a great unit, but you have to know how to use it. You need to use it to hit blobs of infantry and get flanking shots. Don't shoot the front of an infantry unit with an Exalted Flamer because it won't do a lot of damage. The vortexes are where the money is at. And if you're firing onto the flank of a unit, you get more damage out of the main missile, for one. Two, the vortexes tend to spread out along the length of the entire unit better at that stage, and you'll rack up a load of value, because the vortexes are AP for the Exalted Flamer. We can go take a look at it after we check out the values here. 2,400 on the 850 gold Ironsides, 1,000 here, 1,900 on the other. Marcus got good value. Engineer was an absolute bastard, as always. 145 kills, 800 value. A lot of those kills on armored infantry, mind you. And the Empire Knights were solid, too. Great Cannon did get 1,000 value. It's really not disappointing at all, in my opinion. Maybe it just took a little while to like get positioned to shoot the Death Shriek. Had to have been shooting something else though. I mean, got 99 kills. I could have sworn I saw it shooting some of the Chaos Dwarf Warriors. Maybe even hitting the Fireglaves a couple times. You can see how it gets 1,000 value and then takes a little HP off the Death Shriek at the end there. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Melkor. Yeah, the Death Shriek really is like the ultimate boomer bust unit. Same thing with the Magma Cannons, dude. Chaos Dowie are a great faction, but because of the way that Magma Cannons and Death Streaks work, sometimes you can end up in games where you should be winning and your artillery is just whiffing amazing opportunities to do damage, and you just throw your hands up in disgust. I don't know what it is about those two units. They just have like a big spread. And the Magma Cannon can be a little erratic. And the Deathstreak rockets targeting with the infantry airburst ammo, it doesn't track at all. And it has a huge hang time. So I think the big problem is that it overcompensates oftentimes for units moving. And even when they stop, it's still overshooting. Because it's still taking those calculations into consideration as it's firing the missile. You know, some of the program behaviors in this game, like figuring them out is its own little challenge and upgrade in terms of game performance. Yeah, being on the back foot suddenly when you're used to being the one who's getting jumped on. It's hard, dude. Diving gun lines is really difficult. I remember when Furies got buffed, and for the first, 3 months, people were constantly irritated and complaining about how strong Furies were. People figured out how to counter Furies, and now it's back to being a little bit harder to just jump all over gun lines again. And I think the game's in a really good point where there's arguments to be had for going boxy with your armies, going to lots of geometry and shooting, and then also going for really, really aggressive rushes. I think the meta is in a great place right now. I've been really enjoying it. We're going to watch Piston helm the Beastman here. We saw one of Piston's games yesterday. It didn't go too well. Definitely needs a little bit of coaching on the Beastie Boys, because they are a great faction, but goddamn are they micro-intensive. You really can't afford to make more than a handful of mistakes with the Beastmen in the early game. If you do, and you get counter-traded too badly, you can absolutely end up in a position where you can never counter-push again, just because your units individually tend to be pretty mediocre, and you're much better when you're able to hammer an anvil. That's where the Beastmen succeed. If they can't do that, then they just end up losing, straight-up grind fights. This is a great matchup for the Beastmen, by the way. Against Nurgle, let me actually give me just, half a second to check something. I'm pretty sure that the win rate for this matchup is, 10-1 in favor of the Beastmen currently. 13-1. Beastman 13-1 against Nurgle right now on Total Tavern. This matchup basically just comes down to, can Nurgle find a way to not get all of their Marauder Horsemen totally annihilated by Centaurs and Ungor Raiders? And can the Beastmen just utilize their Zangors and Ungor Raiders to, anchor a point and out-micro Nurgle on any of the other objectives, which is usually a pretty easy yes. Sennies are just so devastating to the Nurgle forces. You've got throwing axes who can kill stuff like Kugath pretty easily, even can counter-skirmish the Exalted Heroes pretty aggressively. Regular old melee Centaurs are great against Marauders, they're good against Nurglings, they're good against Horsemen, but it's a little too aggressive to be with them. Again and again, I keep seeing Piston make this mistake of overextending with the Centaurs. You don't have to constantly engage your opponent. A little bit of patience and, self-preservation is very important. If your opponent is going to run all the way back to their deployment zone, just bring an infantry unit up to get on the number 3, and then have the Centaurs rotate over to the middle where they get rear charges on all these Marauders. Because as your opponent tries to rotate all of their horsemen around, guess what's in their path? All these Ungor Raiders can then turn around and counterfire the throwing axes without any real problem. So there's no way for Nurgle to then punish the Centis getting the rear charge here. Zangors do just outright win the trades up here, though. I mean, they are just massacring the Marauders currently. And this is why Zangors are such a good unit. They win so many frontline fights. It's very difficult to deal with them. Very sticky, obnoxious unit. Malagor is dropping Flock of Doom. Probably a couple of enfeebling foes. I wouldn't be too surprised. He definitely has to be, because all of the Zangors are still fresh, which tells me that the spells are being used and cycled very well, so that the Bestial Surge is keeping everybody at full vigor, which is massive. It's one of the reasons Malagor is top-tier Lord, because your opponent gets worn out pretty quickly, and your infantry usually tire pretty fast as well. Senni's obviously a perfect vigor because of Rowdy, but it makes a big difference when your infantry is also fighting at peak efficiency the entire game, or at the very least for the first like opening 3 or 4 minutes. Great focus fire on the Barons of the Bog coming in here. Ungar Raiders getting some nice value. Nothing too crazy. One of them's already paid for themselves. The Barons of the Bog closed the gap, and now it's time to get some Sentis up to help out. Cygor, oh, a Cygor on the field. Saw it in the opening. I was wondering where it was. It's all the way back here. Chaos Warriors are a great target for the Cygor boulders. See if it actually makes good contact here. It kills probably more Zangors than it did Chaos Warriors. Oh my god. You gotta be careful with Cygors because of that. Their boulder does a shit ton of damage. You do not want to be firing into fights like this, because oftentimes the boulders just plow into the back of your own units. Beautiful shot there, though. Chaos Warriors getting chunked pretty badly right off the rip. Max range is not great for Cygors in my experience. I would get this guy a little bit closer in. They're pretty good for anchoring objectives, just because they cause terror. I don't love the standard Cygors. I prefer the Eye of Morsley. This guy is 400 gold cheaper, though, so on a budget, I guess he's a pretty decent option. But the Eye of Morsleeve's nets that it comes with are just hard to pass up, and the ROR stats give it good melee attacks, so it can actually stomp on people pretty well. Nurgle is hanging in. They just can't cap the points right now. They're getting overwhelmed on a lot of the side points now. And yeah, you did lose one Centigore up here, and another took a bunch of damage, but they did get back, and they have done a pretty good job of cleaning up a lot of pressure elsewhere now. I think Piston finally kind of something clicking here in this game. After maybe a little bit too aggressive of an opening yet again, and seeing that things are kind of going the same way as we saw in the first game where Piston was playing. Recalibrating somewhat. And being a little bit more patient. Now wearing out the Nurgle army. Here's the thing about being up by about 600 value. That's all well and good, but you don't have the heals for your Nurgle caster here. So none of that is really making up any of the gap. And the heroes are very healthy. They have not taken a lot of damage. There's not a lot of sunk cost for the Beastmen right now. Most of the damage that they've done is just on all of the infantry, as well as the throwing axes, which is going to give the Beastmen a huge leg up in controlling the objectives, even if they continue to trade fairly evenly, because these characters are not going to be able to take the points by themselves. Beastmen have way too many good cap weight units that are, like, you know, affordable and cost-effective for that to happen. As long as you're good about unsummoning your units as the Beastman, you should always have, like, a Zangor or Gorherd that can come out of a Vanguard, or just come out of a regular spawn point and just rocket up to the objective with their 38 move speed at base, which does end up at 42 with Primal Fury active, which is just damn good. I mean, these guys are so fast. Another big benefit of the Beastman roster, and they get a great charge off on the Nurglings, who just get absolutely folded up. They're trying to push past to get after this Gorherd that's running away. So the Zangors just get a bunch of free damage there. Razor Gorherd stuffing back the Nurglings a little bit. Not really a great fight for Razor Gorherd. The Nurglings could theoretically even win this. Their stats are just way better than the Razorgore herd, and with the physical resistance, they're circumventing the best part about Razorgore herd, which is their weapon strength. It looks like Razorgore herd, they might be able to outlast the Nurglings here. A lot closer than I would have thought, though, initially. So you got the Marauders. I wonder where that boulder landed. What happened here, fellas? Another shot coming in. Ouch. Oh my god, man. Bowling for Beastmen. Nurgle does get the number 2 objective. They just can't get any of these outside points. Although throwing axes could do it. They just need to stay on that objective for now. Little bit of counter push from Nurgle. They still have the value lead, and Fate of Buna on Minotaur is definitely not what I would be going for. Maybe a misclick. Synagore Great Weapons are what you want to use Fate of Buna on. It doesn't do any damage to monstrous infantry. You can see how little it's actually getting done. Fate of Buna is for, like, cavalry. And Synagore Great Weapons are an expensive enough cavalry unit for Fate of Buna to be worth using on. They're 1,000 gold. That's really good value from Fate of Buna. It will take them down to about a third of their HP. And then it's pretty easy cleanup on them from that point on. Lot of Zangors coming back in. We got the Ungor Raiders rallying up a little bit. Value, 1 paid for itself here. Value here. They're just so damn cheap, dude. That's what makes Ungor Raiders so good. I love talking them up. They're just such a good unit. They eat the charge. They do take a good bit of damage here from the Marauder Horsemen throwing axes. You can see quite a few of them get tossed back. And they do get run over. They're just so beat up. A very healthy Ungor Raider, though, actually can hold their ground against something like a Marauder Horseman. For whatever reason, Ungor Raiders are a little bit more durable on the charge than other archer units. I'm not sure what it is, but that's just from my own personal experience. I had one time where a Wild Rider got a flat charge on an Ungor Raider, and, I mean, killed, like, half the unit immediately, but the Ungor Raiders kind of stood their ground. The Wild Riders didn't really push through them, and it allowed me to get a surround on the Wild Riders at that point. It ended up being a huge uptrade for me. And I've seen that a couple of other times in some other matchups. It's another thing that can make them a little bit more useful, because they attract dives and do a pretty damn good job of surviving through it. And if your opponent's trading out something to kill your Ungor Raiders, it's almost always at a value deficit, because these guys are so cheap, right? But they're also not something that you can ignore. They get, like, the best of both worlds as an archer, honestly. Stack that on top of the fact they have stalk and a fast reload speed. God, man. So many things to love about them. They're an S-tier unit. Easy peasy. There's even an argument to be made that the Ungor Raiders are the best unit that the Beastmen have. Realistically, I think that goes to Centigores, but, like, on a very, like, fringe outside analysis, you could make the case that these guys are almost as strong, just because of how well they can uptrade. At the very least, they're, like, the 2 or the 3 best units. Regular old Cygor didn't quite pay for himself, but it did pretty decent damage. I prefer to use him a little closer in, though. That's where they perform a little bit better in my experience. They're more accurate. They cause terror on anything that might be trying to come near them, and you can anchor on top of them a little bit. And if your opponent wants to jump on top of a Cygor, you can always fly in with your own, you know, like Malagor, bring out any Gorbles you might have. Minotaurs can do a pretty good job of helping out a Cygor in melee combat. And you just turn that unit into a bastion of strength. I don't think you need this many Plague Ogres against the Beastmen. Especially not if you're bringing Rot Knights as well. Bears of the Bog did some great work. Standard Chaos Warrior I wouldn't bring either. That's a tricky pickle. What does Nurgle do against the Beastmen? I mean, the fact that the win rate is so terrible for Nurgle in that game. I don't know if there really is anything that Nurgle can do right now. Nurgle desperately needs a little bit of milk right now. You can win tournaments with them, but there's definitely some matchups for them that are just absolutely abysmal, and they should never ever find themselves in. Beastmen being the biggest one of them. I mean, it's almost unwinnable for Nurgle. There's just way too many things that the Beastmen can bring to take them down. Like, not only are Cygors good against Nurgle and the Chaos factions in general, but those are the best matchups for Jabberslides. Jabberslides have a ton of mass, do a shit ton of damage on the charge with their collision damage. They will annihilate an Armored Warrior front line. You cannot armor check Beastmen. Beastmen also have Razorgore Chariots against the armor check. They have too many answers for it. Trying to equal the Beastmen for mobility is like your best bet, and that's going to be really hard for Nurgle. They just don't have the tools for that. And they just can't sit on one point because the Beastmen will just take all the other objectives and just laugh as you try to maneuver between them. Legatus versus Bagosh here. Got Marauder Berserkers, 2 Marauder Champions, Wolfric with Fight or Die, no Seafang. That's actually a mistake. I know Seafang does a little less damage in this matchup, but still fairly effective. Really good, especially in the early game when you've got your mammoths and stuff to like totally ice out the infantry early on for Khorne. And then establish mobility advantage and just like bulldoze over everything as it trickles in. Khorne loves to be able to anchor in the mid-game around their like infantry that has survived the early engagements. And that's pretty common because even their basic Marauders are pretty fighty. 44 melee attack is great. It's really damn strong. They've got pretty good weapon strength as well. It's, you know, it's fine. Like, they can fight against Marauder Berserkers. It's their armor values that I'm a little worried about, but you do have Skulltaker here. You got Hounds who can attack the flanks. And the Bloodwake Berserkers should be the ones that run in and attract the early aggression from Norska. Although, I guess there's throwing axes out now. You might want to hold back. You don't want your Bloodwake Berserkers taking a bunch of damage from the throwing axes. You can see Bagosh doing a great job of just moving back. Making sure that the Marauders are screening out the throwing axes. These Norskins will do pretty good damage against the Marauders, but it's not going to be very efficient, right? They've got pretty limited volleys at only 12. They don't want to use like 5 volleys breaking down a Marauder. And usually it takes a little bit more because of the shields. So we're just anchoring here. I love the details of the shields like actually working. You see it like some shots bounce off the shields, others like get caught on the shield itself. It's just a really nice aesthetic thing that I've always appreciated about the Total War games overall. Like, God, dude, Shogun 2 had some of the craziest like sync kill animations I've ever seen in a game. And I'd love to see that become more of a focus for Total War whenever they make the next mainline game. Because back in Warhammer 1 and 2, that was like a big selling point. It kind of fell by the wayside with 3. A lot of them were bugged out when the game released, and it's been very slow going fixing it. You see them a lot more now, but I would just love to see a lot more variety in them. Soul Crusher moving forward. Very powerful unit. Thundering along, man. It's going to be difficult for Khorne to contend with this thing. You would think Khorngors would be a good unit for fighting a Mammoth, but that's really not the case, because the Khorngors don't have the mass to stop the Mammoth completely. If the Mammoth just keeps moving, it will just bulldoze over all of these Khorne infantry units. Once it stops, and then it has to build speed back up, that's where it'll be a little bit more vulnerable.
You have the foe's victory point.
Norscan Ice Wolves get a great fight against the Warhounds here. And those Warhounds of Khorne get folded up like a piece of paper, dude. 450 gold being pushed off with a grand total of 46 value. Bleeding a ton to your opponent in a really good collapse here. Onto the rear. One Norscan Ice Wolf does get mulched on a little bit by Karanak and the Khorngors. How many kills did Karanak get here? Yeah, he got 5 kills. It's not bad at all. Oh, and the Norscan Ice Wolves running into the Bloodwake Berserkers. So that really good trade's starting to play out pretty evenly. In fact, might actually be a little bit better for Khorne overall. No, it's 2 Hounds for 1 Ice Wolf. The Ice Wolves here got away pretty healthy. They'll just make sure the Hounds don't rally. Well, I would probably try and rotate them back out of here. So they're in a pretty ugly spot. I mean, they have like no way out right now. I got 1 chance to go. I gotta go past the deployment zones first, though. Very curious to see what Legatus does with these guys. This is an awkward spot for them, but there's potential wins to be had with these guys back here. If they just constantly like disrupt and keep Norska or keep Khorne like on their toes, and then maybe Norska can have a little bit better of a time getting up into Khorne's front line and finding some good trades because there's distracted micro in the back. Khorngor comes up. Norscan Ice Wolves do finish off the Chaos Warhounds. The Khorngors are trying to chase down the remaining Frost Doggies. We got a huge supply float. This is way too many supplies to be floating, guys. Don't ever float 3,000. There's really not a good reason to. I guess if you if you're trying to keep it under wraps what it is you're going to be summoning out before you make your big push onto the objective, I guess it's fine. Having something to counter skirmish a few of these throwing axes would be pretty massive right now. Really love to see it. But Bagosh, I guess, is doing a good enough job with the Marauders of keeping the Horsemen back that it doesn't really matter that he's not counter-firing them. It doesn't need to. Maybe going to be nice to have the throwing axes in the mid to late game to shoot at the Soul Crusher. Bloodwake Berserkers chilling. 2 Marauders pushing up a little bit here. Champions and Berserkers waiting in the wings, not reacting at all. Which I think is fine. Norska's got the advantage in quality of infantry, but they also want to hold on to the point, so just staying disciplined and making sure that your units are positioned on the point and have a good defensive hold. Not a bad idea here. But you don't want to miss your charge bonuses. Norska has good charge bonuses on their champions and Berserkers. Berserkers have 46 charge bonus, which is absolutely insane, by the way. 46 charge bonus is the exact same as a Senegor. And these guys are on foot. I mean, they've got 100 models getting the increase to their charge, or to their stats as they're charging in. They flatten units when they get their bonus in. Very late counter charge, but we get one from this champion. The other one missing out on it. You can see the extra damage being done there. And look at the Soul Crusher here. Bye-bye Marauders. They tear out immediately. Their leadership is just not good enough to be able to hang in under the sustained pressure from a mammoth like this. Oh, Heralds of Khorne's Fury on the field. Hell yeah. This is one of their good matchups. The Heralds are pretty good against anything that takes extra damage from fire damage. Like Skin Wolves and Norscan Ice Trolls just get absolutely massacred by the Heralds, and they're also pretty good at trapping big mammoths. It's not really the best thing for them to be doing, but being able to catch the Soul Grinder here and having the Khorngors in position now to get their halberd attacks in is doing quite a bit of work against this big boy. But I will say that Khorne doesn't have anything to keep the throwing axes in check. And they bring a Bloodthirster in. No frickin' way. Bloodthirster game? It's gonna do anything. Hey, I mean, look at the Mammoth being melted right now. Not enough support for the poor Mammoth, unfortunately. We do get the Transmutation of Lead that is upgraded here, lowering the melee attack and base weapon damage, but the Soul Crusher goes down really hard here. Fleshhound summoned from Karanak. Awesome decision to bring that. I do like Karanak's Howl. It's actually fairly powerful. Opting to not bring the Silencing, which I don't hate, because you still have the Snare. It's a very nice build from Bagosh. Very pared down, very, very cognizant of, like, small advantages in this matchup, and how to take down big, scary single entities that Norska can bring in, and sometimes end up being a little reliant on, as a result, is just great game knowledge. Bloodthirster also has 400 value already. Lands in on Wolfric. Wolfric in a horrible spot with the Bloodwake Berserkers and Marauders here, too. Oh no, and he gets terror routed by the Bloodthirster. Oh no, Norska, they may be losing this game right now. If something chases Wolfric off, I don't know if he would rally. Although it looks like he might be able to get away. Got a Marauder way out here on the flank moving in. Front line has been going Norska's way. But losing their Lord is definitely going to be a surefire way to end up on the outside looking in the late game. Because, you know, Skulltaker, he's been fighting big stuff for most of this game. He's already got 1100 value and hasn't even started killing infantry yet. That is what he really shines at, and is what gets him all of his big buffs. I mean, it doesn't have the Cloak of Skulls. Actually going for the Slayer Sword. I like this, dude. The Slayer Sword is a very powerful item. It gets Skulltaker over 700 weapon strength, and if he's got Hellblade, it gets him close to 1,000. With his 61 melee attack always being there, the Slayer Sword also gets him up to 85 melee attack, so he hits all the time. And then you're also weakening your opponent with 25% debuff to their weapon strength, which is really brutal. Karanak with a great Prey of the Blood God out here on the Sorcerer of Metal. This bad boy's going down real quick here, I imagine. Bagosh just all over it, man. And the Khorne Gores were used very effectively. This is a very patient build-up game from Khorne. Not allowing Norska to just get any free fights, any free damage early. Buffering out with the Marauders, wearing out the infantry with your own chaff, and then counterpunching with mobility and with expensive anti-infantry options like the Heralds here, who've gotten their value back just about. They cost 1,700 gold, they've got 16, and they've got a little bit left in them. 15 models, they can get one more good charge engagement off and probably help finish something like these Marauder Champions that Skulltaker is fighting. And that'll net them about 300 or 400 more value. And 2,100's plenty for a dedicated combat unit like this. Bloodthirster flying overhead, 900 value on it. Skinwolf's coming in. Marauder Horsemen throwing in at them. This is another fight that the Heralds could be pretty strong in. As long as they don't get charged themselves. If they countercharge the Skinwolves, that Mantle of Immolation weakening the resistance to fire by another 20% will have the poor little Skinwolves melting under that pressure. They will get absolutely annihilated. Sorry, it'll be 20% reduction. Marauders, Khorne Gores, scrapping. Marauder Champions are up on the #1 objective here. Norska is playing the points pretty well, and Wolfric did rally. Very important for Norska in the late game here. Having him available is great. They absolutely cannot afford to lose the leadership on their army. Because they do have quite a few units out who don't have amazing leadership, like these throwing axes, as well as the Skinwolves. The Skinwolves do get pushed back. Oh no. The Heralds of Khorne's Fury found their way onto the flank. Didn't get a lot of damage though. Looks like they're struggling a little bit. What are they doing? I don't know what's going on here. They're really not attacking the Skinwolves the way they should be. But the Bloodthirster's punishing a bit. He's gotten 1,000 value. Actually, I'm very impressed with the performance from this Bloodthirster. Hot damn. Okay. I mean, it's getting shot to death by the throwing axes. But 1,000 value is, would it be crazy for me to tell you that 1,000 value is about as good from a Bloodthirster as I've seen since launch day? People are pretty good at taking these things down. They're a little weak, in my opinion, still. They need a little bit more milk, and they'll be in a pretty good spot. But it helped take down the Soul Crusher, it took down some cavalry, it's been hounding the throwing axes, who have used all their ammo. He could keep attacking these guys and keep them from being unsummoned. Could also get up in the air with a little support, take down these Skin Wolves. He does cause terror, and Skin Wolves are not ITP without their Frenzy, right? Once the Frenzy wears off, they lose this, and then they'll Terror Route, like any other unit. Hound's moving over. This Hound has paid for itself. I think this is the second time it's come in, though. If it's chased stuff off, that's great. I would unsummon these other Warhounds. They're sitting at the edge of the battlefield. It can be kind of hard to spot that, though, right? Like, you're in here. You know, you see all of this, and this is a big battlefield.
The enemy has slain our lord.
And you just don't notice out there on the edge. Check your tooltip with all the unit cards at the bottom for the view on what units need to be unsummoned. Just a glance every now and then will keep you on track. Karanak with 1,600 value. Wolfric dies over here. I think Karanak got him. And Karanak looking to kill the Shaman Sorcerer, but gets surrounded by the Ice Wolves. The Ice Wolves are a pretty good counter to Karanak because they frostbite him, they slow him down, and they do have pretty good weapon strength, right? You can see how quickly they're melting our good old doggy here. He did pay for himself, though. Khorne has just had more cost-efficient units overall. These throwing axes have been the best unit for Norska. Everything else has honestly been a little weak. The Marauder Berserkers have 950 value here. I'm pretty sure it's their second summon around, though. See the Bloodwake Berserkers over here pushing back Marauder Champions, bulldozing over these guys. 1,300 value on them. Long way to go to pay for themselves, but still pretty decent. 1,900 on the Heralds. Very nice. Marauders with 1,000 value. Marauder, what the hell have they been fighting? What is going on with these guys? Goodness gracious. Wake up and eat your Wheaties, fellas. Get upgraded. If this were campaign, they would definitely be getting a an upgrade at the end of that one. So Slaughter Guard, just anchoring that middle point. They can probably do it by themselves. If Skulltaker is with them, there's nothing that can take the number 2 at that point. They will beat a Marauder Great Weapon. They've just got such good stats. It's hard to get through these guys. I mean, the charge bonus is going to wear off of the champions pretty soon here, and you'll start to see that the Slaughter Guard will just not be taking all that much damage because they've got, 63 melee defense. It's more than a match for the 36 melee attack that these Marauder champions have. And they also put down some serious hate with 55 melee attack of their own and Unyielding Assault. It means that they never lose any of that. Ever since the hotfix, where they fixed the interaction between Unyielding Assault and the Vigor loss, characters with this for Khorne are really strong. Just that max efficiency in melee combat at all times is really nice to have.
Unending glory is yours.
So, like, even when you're beat up and exhausted, your unit can still throw down. Alright, I'll check that one out, Piston. Oh, I see. I missed your message about the Cine's Piston. It's okay. Like, that's the thing, though. The better you get with the Beastmen, the less often you're going to forget about your mobility units when you give them orders. Because of how fast your forces are, you need to constantly be on the lookout for overextensions, because it's very easy to overextend with a fast faction. And the Beastmen being quick across the board means that it can get real ugly real fast if you're not careful about it. I presume you mean this one. Oh, a double Skull Cannon aficionado here. Okay. Chia Head. I haven't seen them play today. Piston, of course, one of our resident chatters. Looking to helm the Beastman to a victory here. Malagor against Khorne can work. I really like Khazrak in this matchup. Khazrak is surprisingly strong here. He's great at running over infantry. Khazrak has good mass. He can actually run over the Bloodwick Berserkers as well without taking a whole bunch of damage from them. And he kills them pretty efficiently. He's also pretty good at killing Valkia. Valkia absolutely dominates Morgur in a one-on-one, but she does tend to lose to Khazrak oftentimes. I don't know what it is about it. She has a hard time hitting chariots on occasion. And the Razorgore chariots are just very painful to get hit by.
Keep it from the foe.
The double skull cannon's going to be really nice here. They're very annoying to kill. And Beastmen actually struggle with them a lot, actually. Because they don't have great armor-piercing options to kill them with. They've got stuff like Senegors of Tzeentch who can do some pretty good work. Razorgore Herd, if they get a full surround off, can be effective. But Khorne has a lot of answers to those units in melee combat, so they don't worry about them that much. And Centaur throwing axes are always under threat from Furies. Furies are very dangerous to Centaurs in this matchup. This is actually fairly close. I think this is the best matchup to bring Fleshhounds in, by the way. Fleshhounds into the Beastmen are amazing. They wreck so many Beastmen units. The only thing that the Fleshies don't want to run into, they don't want to fight Senegors one-on-one. They're really good at countercharging Senegors. They don't want to fight Zangors at all. And they want to stay away from poke from Ungor Raiders. But that's really the only notes that you need for them. You can use them to cycle charge Goreherd into Oblivion, same with Pestigors. They can countercharge Sentis, get like Senegors try to charge in on some of your Marauders. You have the Fleshhounds come in, charge in underneath all of that. And they can do some really good damage that way. Skull Tannins, not effective at all against cavalry nowadays. I honestly would like a reversion on the Skull Cannon. This is going to be a really hot take, guys. Skull Cannons before they got the Vortex were better. After the Vortex nerfs, your standard Skull Cannons are just pigeonholed into only being anti-infantry. Khorne doesn't need any anti-infantry. What Khorne needs is anti-skirmish, because they're very weak to kite play. Back in the day, the Skull Cannons had shots that plowed through multiple entities in cavalry. They were a very effective counter-kite unit, and I loved using them against Greenskins, against High Elves, against Bretonnia. A lot of factions got massacred by the Skull Cannons back in the day. But they were a little worse against infantry, but there is something that you can do to guarantee good value out of your Skull Cannons if they're shooting into melee fights. What you want to do, see where these Goreherd are? You know, they're like lined up right here. Skull Cannons are really fast. You can drive them right up here. Make sure your Marauder is a little farther forward. Have the Skull Cannon fire down the flank of this fight, and it'll get a lot of value that way. We're talking about killing like 20, 30 models at a time even, with their shots. Don't fire from behind your units. This is why. They just absolutely massacre their Marauders here. Really brutal loss for Khorne. And the Bushes of Kalkengard look like they might be breaking through the front line here. Skull Cannon's whiffing some shots, as always, being very temperamental and inaccurate. Oh, and a Soul Grinder comes up. I actually really like the Soul Grinders to do what basic Skull Cannons used to. Soul Grinders have their little shotgun cannon that's got decent range. 120 meters is pretty solid. You can use these guys not just to fire into infantry, but they're very good on the charge. They have a ton of weapon strength, good charge bonus. They've got good collision damage. They mulch infantry when they get flanks off. It's awesome. Fleshhounds attacking the Ungor Raiders, but we do have a horde of Sentis back here answering. Oop, didn't mean to do that. I would make sure to get one Centaur off of the fight against the Fleshhounds. so that you can maybe deal with these Marauder Horsemen that are charging around. It does kind of look like that's what's going on. Very good value for the Beastmen up to this point. They've broken most of the Marauders in the front line. Goreherds getting through, looking to chase some stuff down, but good fire from the flank. Skull Cannon's finally getting some decent value against that infantry there. And now getting into melee, where they'll be able to run over a lot of these Goreherd and recharge ammo and get more health. Just need to kill the Ungor Raiders. The Ungor Raiders are not great. 1 AP is 1 AP, though, with 120 models. These guys fire accurately enough. They'll wear a Skull Cannon out eventually. See them starting to rack it up, you know. About 200 value on one. Others over here, the 169, nothing crazy, but they did attract dives from Fleshhounds. Now some Furies. And a lot of that's been folded up here. One of the Fleshhounds crumbled out, another one is very close to crumbling, and you also lose a Marauder Horseman with the throwing axes here. Synagor is doing great this game. More than equal to the task of withstanding whatever units Khorne has been throwing up so far. Bush is a Kalkan Guard against the Soul Grinder. Really bad fight for them. Soul Grinder is really good melee stats. Has flaming attacks too, so 20% extra damage being taken by the Butchers right now. And they have solid melee attack stats, but they're there to bully infantry. They don't do very well against single entities. They're just a little too defensively oriented. Their melee defense at 56 is great. But it's, you know, it's pretty even with the Soul Grinder. When the Soul Grinder hits, it's going to be way more impactful, because it'll kill a model on the Butchers every time it makes contact. Saw it earlier. Saw it right there. Another Minotaur gets punted. Oh, actually, this guy survived. No way. How the hell did he make it? Pretty cool, though. God, dude, I love the Soul Grinders. Sweeping around with the Power Fist. Using the sword, punting the Minotaurs away now. Another good hit in here. How much value is that? About 600 value, which ain't bad. Definitely doesn't want to get shot by these Ungor Raiders, though. The Ungor Raiders have been pretty damn good. You know, nothing stupendous in the value trade department, as I said. But all these dives that they're forcing from the Khorne mobility has been punished pretty well so far. Do have some Goreherd over here trying to help out against these Furies. Valkia does not want to spend a bunch of time chasing Malagor. Malagor is 121 speed. You are not catching him. Babe. Valkia. My love. My beloved. You only have 81 speed right now. You're just going to get run around in circles this entire game. Valkia is way better at dealing with stuff like Sons of Goros than she is just chasing Lords endlessly. Use her with like a squad of Furies to take fights against stuff like the Sons of Goros, or even charging down the Pestigors when they're out of position. That's where the money is for her. Looks like one Skull Cannon did die. The other one is locked down by the Sons of Goros here. I have no idea where the other Soul Cannon died at, but it doesn't really matter. Bloodweight Berserker's coming up. Hound's looking to chase these Centaur throwing axes. Centaurs can take the head-up charge here and win still. Them getting countercharged is going to hurt. They're not going to take terrible damage. They should still win this fight, just because of how bad Hounds are, but I don't know. Maybe the Hounds... I don't know, man. The charge bonus was wearing off right as you retreated there. I think it would have started flipping around, but it doesn't really matter. You got some Sentis here who are a little beat up. They should rack up some pretty good value on the way out here, charging down those Hounds. In fact, they actually beat them completely. God, dude, Hounds are so shitty. Oh, my God. Buffer Hounds, please. Get them up to 45 leadership. Begging you. Crying over it, in fact. Skull Cannon dying. Got 1,300 value. Sons of Goros getting up to 900. Doing pretty solidly here. The Bloodweight Berserkers are going to be very tough to kill. She does have a value lead. Soul Grinder, 900 value. Killing Groghooves is really nice, too. The Groghooves with 1,300 value here. Very, very cost-effective unit. An Enfeebling Foe goes off. Trying to get some damage in against these Bloodweight Berserkers, but yeah, they just survive the charge. They barely take any damage with the 70 armor, and they're just going to run over and kick the Sons of Goros' ass next. Sons of Goros need to get out and be the Cycle Charge unit. And again, I would love to see a Razorgore Chariot. Not enough Razorgore Chariot love, man. They're one of the best units for the Beastmen. I swear to all that is unholy in the Chaos Realms that Razorgore Chariot makes the Khorne matchup pretty easy because you just run over all of their infantry. And you make their life a living hell with all the mobility and the Centaurs just flying around, chipping all their stuff down. I mean, Khorne also doesn't have great mobile answers for Razorgore Chariots, because Razorgore Chariots are super heavily armored. Fleshhounds are usually pretty good against Chariots, because they can bite through with their decent weapon strength. But with the 110 armor that Razorgore Chariots have, that's not really doable for the Fleshhounds. They fall off pretty badly. Really nice hammer and anvil here. Fleshhounds, they get charged by the Senties in the front. Great weapons onto the flank. Massive damage onto the poor little hounds here. And they will be folded up in short order. The Bloodwake Berserkers are still going. I mean, they're going to kill this feral Razorgore herd. You see some of the other herd running away. They got okay value against the Bloodwake Berserkers, though. It's pretty nice. Skull Cannon coming back out. I wouldn't really want to re-summon a Skull Cannon. Just not quite good enough, I would say. Very good micro on the Tattered Centaurs here. Cycle charging in and out against the Soul Grinder is a great way to break it down. Because on the charges where Centaurs are at their best, they wouldn't do a lot of damage to the Soul Grinder in a sustained fight. But just coming in and out of combat and constantly having it twirling around, nipping at its heels, has allowed you to get the kill there, and is keeping you in this game. This is a little deceptive, again, guys. I know this looks like Beastmen are just like comfortably behind, but the truth is that, you know, Skull Cannons have been crumbling out. Both of them presumably crumbled at the end. It's almost unavoidable because they only have 60 leadership. They're going to bleed about 200 value to your opponent. There were 2 of them on the field, so you can add another like 4, 5, 600 to Piston. You got a lot of Furies and Fleshhounds crumbling out. That's another like 1,000 probably. And then you're talking about it being a lot more even. And with the superior mobility that Beastmen have, they should be able to continue to reinforce very capably and be able to take down like the Khorngors one at a time, finish off the Bloodwake Berserkers, who are pretty damn low. They've got 1,800 value, but I don't know if that's going to be good enough from them here. And again, the Beastmen are still holding the points, most importantly. Khorne has just not been able to effectively swing the objectives. This would be a really good time to land with Malagor, so these Furies come down with him, and then you can use the Razorgores and the Sennies to countercharge him. You'd kill the Furies pretty fast. Ungor Raiders running underneath. Furies should honestly dive here. Like, yeah, you want to do damage to Malagor, but killing him is not that important, considering the state of the game. You need to kill your opponent's ground forces as quickly as possible. Just need the objectives, man. The Beastmen are just doing so well, getting their units forward and faking caps on the back point here. Do lose the Centaurs to that charge. If you see the Furies coming out, just run away with the Senties and get them somewhere else. You don't want to leave them to get hounded out by a Fury unit. Furies win in the one-on-one when they get the charge off. Centaurs win in the one-on-one when they get the charge off. It's a very back-and-forth type of engagement. This matchup, all the time, I see, comes down to who is better at getting the decisive engagements in the mobility game. And I do think that's been the Beastmen for the most part. Their infantry did eventually get worn out. Haven't been trading as cost efficiently this game as they might be able to in other matchups. But the continued presence of Centaurs and them constantly maneuvering around to force like responding units out that don't have cap weight from Khorne with the Furies, as well as just potentially taking these objectives as well, has been damn good stuff for them. And is triple cap range for Khorne. Need the hounds up here. Khorngors need to go over there. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Khorne wins this game, but they have to get all the points literally right now and hold it forever. If they lose any of the objectives, the Beastmen just get some units up on the number 1 and reinforce it. Khorne's not going to be able to take it in time. Hound's getting over. Skull Cannon with 1800 value. For 2 summons, that's okay. I mean, it's very healthy this time around. I've been experimenting with Skull Cannons in reserve a little bit lately. Just having one. And you bring it in as a just in case. If you see that it's got some good opportunities to value trade. Because if you bring them in the opening, people are going to, you know, be thinking of ways to kill them constantly. If you bring them in as a surprise and you throw your opponent's timing and, like, their knowledge base off a little bit in the middle of a game, you can maybe use them a little bit more aggressively to run stuff over. You did have a Razor Gore Chariot. Instead of summoning all the Pestigores out, just save up for that Razor Gore Chariot next time. Pestigores are okay in this matchup. They're pretty mediocre, in my opinion. You don't need a whole lot of infantry removal other than the Razor Gore Chariots and the Gore Herd. Like, you just bring all those guys and you'll be just fine. Cockatrice in the back pocket is interesting. I don't think this is a great matchup for Cockatrice. Khorne has too many units that can kill it on the ground fairly quickly. It loses really badly to Valkia as well. Like, I can even show that off to you real quick if you want to see it. We'll make this Beastman. We'll get this guy on the ground. Get the Cockatrice. Valkia we're going to have with your items. We'll just have one Marauder, sure. I'll just run it and show you what it looks like. The problem is the Cockatrice doesn't hit Valkia very often. Her melee defense is really good. Once the Cockatrice is a little worn out, Valkia is just going to slowly out-damage it.
Valkia the Bloody! With haste!
Get up in here. We're going to get up in this thing's face real quick. I don't think it's going to be... I don't think the AI is smart enough to land flyers. Pop the Demon Shield, avoid the charge damage, and then you can just scrap against this thing. And you see how quickly she's taking it down. And Valkia is very common against the Beastmen. Skulltaker is alright against the Beastie Boys, but I think Valkia is a little bit better overall in that matchup. That's also a good matchup for Exalted Bloodthirsters, and they also beat the Cockatrice pretty quickly. I mean, look how badly she's massacring this thing. She just wrecked it. She took no damage, guys. You do not want the 1100 gold cost of a Cockatrice against Khorne just because of Valkia. The threat of her is enough to dissuade me from bringing one entirely, and I would recommend you also not be using them. You've got plenty of other good tools that you can get value out of. Undead or Elves? Yeah, I'll get some Undead or Elves. Yeah, the Warhammer, I think it was actually Warhammer 1 Doom Bulls. Oh, you're talking about the... Okay, Warhammer 2 Doom Bull might have had the same bug that the Gorbals had in Warhammer 1, where they would just get moonshotted across the battlefield. It's so funny, man. Genuinely considering taking Kazarak. Wrote him off as a meme. Kazarak's actually not bad against the Beastmen, because their lords are pretty squishy. If you can get good Prey of the Blood God off and have Valkia find that lord, she can kill him with a little bit of the extra damage from Prey. Because Prey does a steady tick as well. It does about 300 damage on average, right? What is it? What's the range? 160, yeah, about, 300 on the low end. You get up to about 600 on the upper end, which is pretty damn solid. And, you know, the Beastmen lords, for the most part, are pretty squishy. Like, Malagor only has 4,900 health. Doom Bulls are pretty beefy at 6,600. You'll see them pretty commonly against the against Khorne, just because of how good these guys are in melee combat. They're pretty damn tough. Kazrak on the Tuskor Chariot is 5,900. But he is also on a chariot, so he's pretty vulnerable if he gets caught because his melee defense is really low. Karanak can do some nasty work against him. And you don't see Torox ever, so it's whatever against him. The Bray Shamans are also pretty squishy on the chariots. They only have 5,000 themselves. There's a lot you can do with Karanak. I think that he is a little risky at times. If your opponent goes really wide and you've brought Karanak, he can oftentimes not find any way to get his value back. But just using him as disruption in that case is still okay, you know. There's a little bit of versatility in Karanak's game. It's not just totally abysmal if he doesn't have like a lord to try and hone in on and snipe. Khorne versus Skaven. Really not a lot of people who sent in their undead games. It's really just these Vampire Coast players. We've watched Rex several times. Let's try and get somebody else. Is it worth to take any of Karanak's? Absolutely. The Brass Collar is really strong, especially against factions that are going to be bringing healing magic. If you can bring Karanak with the collar and just hound down these life casters, either kill them outright or just stay in range to keep them silenced, your opponent is literally losing all of the benefit of their magic choice. And life magic is very popular against Khorne, because heals as well as Flesh to Stone are not affected by Khorne's own resistance to spells. So you get like the maximum effect at all times, and you can wear Khorne out pretty nicely with life magic. This is another matchup where he can even work, because he's good at killing the Vampire Coast characters, because they're pretty slow. You see Fleet Admirals very often. You just need to bring Karanak in reserve against the Vampire Coast, and he can actually do a lot of work for you, because you summon him out as you're done cleaning up the handguns. You know, you use your Chaos Warriors to kill deckhand mobs, soak up damage from bombs, and have your Furies and maybe a couple of Flesh Hounds like dive in the back line. And then your opponent's Lord is like dropping heals and whatnot, and then you bring Karanak in. Hopefully you've killed most of the guns, and then you use Karanak to kill the Lord, and you just take over the game from that point. Count Noctilus on his big ol' Necrofex, just trotting around out there. Looking a little lost, buddy. What are you, a tourist? Come on, dude. Act like you've been here, you know. Very slow up onto the number 1 there for the Vampire Coast. They are already getting behind in tickets. This is kind of their fate, though, on average. It just takes them so long to maneuver to objectives, dude. This is why you only play 2 points, is the Vampire Coast. Never, ever play all 3 unless it's really late game and you have to. Or you can use a Scurvy Dog to, like, force your opponent to constantly, like, summon out something to defend this point. And those are, like, your rare exceptions. Lamprey's Revenge actually have already lost a model just from the Soul of Damnation's shooting here. Another shot on the way in. Archeon getting poked by the missiles a little bit. The tree is protecting him for the most part, though. Nice damage, man. Look at the leadership. Getting real flimsy for the Lamprey's Revenge early on. The regeneration, like I said, is really great for them, but they just can't sit under the sustained fire from the soul for much longer. Count Noctilus moving in. Looks like he wants to shoot the Soul of Damnation. We do get a Carronade. Oh, it's going to kill that thing. Oh, Next shot. Oh, no. The Soul of Damnation dying to the Carronade immediately. Hellstrider's not able to get on the Carronade fast enough. Oh, that sucks, dude. If you see the Carronade getting in range of the Soul of Damnation, uncrew the Soul and run away. And then you'd have time for the Hellstriders to get back here and kill this piece. What was looking, honestly, like a really good game for the Warriors of Chaos, starting to look like kind of a stinker. They're down in value. They lost their really powerful artillery piece. They do have Archeon to hammer Noctilus, but Archeon is going to have a hard time finding those opportunities with all these handguns on the field. The Black Spot being rear charged by the Hellstriders, and I mean, in the past, the Hellstriders probably would have taken a third of these guys' HP off. Here they do about a fourth, and now the Black Spot are going to be able to get up and get their anti-large bonus online against the Hellstriders, who have pretty weak melee defense. Black Spot have 20 melee attack. They should be able to drag down the Hellstriders as the fight progresses. Hellstriders pulling back. Good focus fire on the Hounds. One handgun very beleaguered, though. Definitely on the way out. Wow, dude. The Hounds over here killed an entire handgun. Well, okay, maybe this is the matchup for the Hounds, then. That's pretty exceptional value, dude. Okay, let's see it. Prove me wrong, guys. I actually do like it when people prove me wrong. Seeing the Hounds shredding a lot of these squishy Vampire Coast units is making me think this could be a good matchup for them. They took down a handgun unit, and now they finish off the Shade Wraith Gunners. This Hound unit, with 741 value, beautiful uptrade. They could scream up back there and maybe get some damage in, too. Alright, Mini has flung this one all the way back. God, the oscillations in this game have been wild. But there hasn't been a lot of protection for the back line. That's probably the biggest problem here. Mini was just very discerning about building up the Hellstriders and the Hounds, and has been pretty good about playing with them in combination with one another. Some of the dives have been a little bit one-on-one, isolated, and haphazard, but the value is at least solid across the board for all those units. Very few inefficiencies. You got Marauders here, holding on to the number 2. A little bit of bomber fire going down on the Horsemen, but that was their last real volley. They got a couple of dudes who could throw their grenades. Yeah, well, that was okay. That was actually alright. They're just going to get kited out now. They'll get shot to death by the Javelins. You don't really need to do that, but why not? I mean, there's not really a whole lot else for them to do. Noctilus is already being dealt with by the Hellstriders, who have gotten a surround on him. They're ripping him apart pretty nicely. Good Melkoths in response, though. The Hellstriders taking pretty nasty damage from that, and Noctilus trying to get away. About a third of the HP off of those guys. Another Warhound on top of a handgun. What is up with these Hounds against the handguns, dude? Wicked damage. And the bombs trying to peel and doing the worst job imaginable. Wow, dude. Oh my god. They're killing their own guys, too. Like, alright, they killed the Chaos Warhound. They kind of saved the Deckhand mob. This gunnery mob's just going to crumble out, though. It's just not really going to be worth it. More handguns coming up. Pole arms into the sunset. No momentum, though, for the undead. They're just going to get pushed back the rest of this game. Lamprey's Revenge with pretty good value, paying for themselves. Archeon finishing off the last few models here. They are crumbling, very low on HP. Regeneration barely keeping them in this fight. Really nice burning head. The Rotting Riders getting up on top of Noctilus. I'd love to see the Rotting Riders actually kill him, but they are getting shot at by a bunch of handguns. Oh my god. Comeback moment? That's why you gotta be careful about overextending, man. Like, one bad overextension into gun units is gonna be the end of you. I do a lot of damage. Very consistent, steady DPS comes out of these handgun mobs. And you gotta remember they have 30% more damage as long as they're above 80% ammo. Which for zombie pirates, the gunnery mobs, 22 volleys. That's 7 volleys, or 5 volleys, I should say, before it wears off. Which is amazing. I mean, absolutely clutch for them. The extra damage is a big boon for these guys, because it means that they value trade in the early game really well when they're honestly at their weakest, when your opponent is at their most built up. The idea is that they get the extra damage and they do just a little bit better in the range duels to be able to win those and then persevere into the late game where they can just use the regular weapon strength to rack up value. Noctilus crumbling. I don't think he's salvageable at this point. Even if he had a heal, he's basically at his heal cap anyways. Well, 2200 HP wouldn't be terrible for him. Shooting some of the Hellstriders, 2600 value is damn solid for him. He's just so expensive on the Colossus. The Colossus needs more ammo. If this thing had 30 ammunition, I think it would be in a pretty good balanced spot. It's a great answer for cavalry, because the multi-shot is pretty terrible against single entities. But when it hits cavalry, it cleaves through like the whole unit. It can be pretty destructive. Rotting Riders running around. Mini is losing the value lead. Shade Wraith Gunners die for a second time. There is a lot of infantry over here on the number 1. A lot more pressure. God, dude, the waves of Hellstriders and Hounds has been something to behold, for sure. The persistence is very nice. Just constantly keeping the Vampire Coast from consolidating their armies and being able to counter-push. It might as well be an up-trade, right? There's a lot of crumbling that might not be taken into consideration here as well. Another handgun goes down. God, dude, the Hellstriders just unga-bunga into the Black Spot and are actually beating them. Because the Black Spot are trying to push through, so they just walk into all this free damage from the Hellstriders, and Deckhand Mob's just not making it happen. My goodness. Never did I think I would live to see the day that Chaos Warhounds were not just cost-effective, but also up-trading a little bit. Wicked stuff, dude. This is a really bad matchup for the Coast. I don't know what they need to do to win this one, but I think the best start is not bringing Noctilus on the Colossus. He just doesn't do enough for how expensive he is. He's barely paying for himself on this thing right now. 2,800 value, and he's barely paid himself off. Archeon gets 2,800 value in his sleep and is quite a bit cheaper. Like, I think 500 gold cheaper. And that's with a very pared down kit for Noctilus. I mean, look at his base cost of 3,700 on this thing. You want to bring Wraithstorm, you want the Hunger. Curse of Undeath ain't bad. You bring Melkoth's Invo. I would avoid Wind of Death with Noctilus because he doesn't have a way to really make great use out of it. It's a boomer bust spell, and for the Vampire Coast, I think it's more bust than anything. I'd rather see the Drowned Dead summons, or just go with these two. Melkoth's is good damage, and then Invo is just a cheap heal, which is really great for you. And he's 28.95. You gotta work really hard to make this guy pay for himself in the Colossus. And this is the reason why you see the Fleet Admirals. Because these guys are way cheaper. And they are just as cost-effective, honestly. You got the Black Periapt for the Fleet Admiral of Vampire's Magic. You can bring Gaze into Gash. That's really good for hitting enemy lords with. Does a ton of damage. And you get effectively infinite WOM. I mean, the games don't go forever, so you don't actually just get it forever. But, you know, it's on a 120-second cooldown, infinite uses, 27-second duration. You get, what, 4 Winds of Magic out of this per use? .4 actually. You get 5 Winds of Magic. I mean, that's a Van Hels. Whenever you want it. Which is a pretty strong spell. I really like Van Hels Dance Macabre, actually. Use 2 Puriaps and you get another Gaze into Gash, and you can get like 3 or 4 of these out in a short game. In a long game, you could potentially be talking about getting 8 uses out of the Black Puriapt, which is 40 Winds of Magic, potentially. That would have to go wire to wire, but that's a lot of potential extra casts. I don't think you can pass that up over Noctilus, who's just like a solid combat character slash caster, but until the Necrofex gets buffed, I think he's just not going to be worth the extra money that you spend on him for very minimal gains. Oh, Karanak. Oh my god. I'm so dumb. My bad, Iceman. Oh, you're talking about Kazrak into Khorne. No, Kazrak is good against Khorne. I promise you. I use them all the time. I'll show you what one of my Beastman builds for the matchup against Khorne is. Bring on the Razor Gore, you cut everything. Bring the Dark Mail, because it does give him damage resistance and extra armor. It's actually pretty nice for him. Your Bray Shaman is going to be a Wilds caster. Cut everything. Except Bestial Surge and Devolve, and then you can do Mantle of Gorok, which is a really good buff. Or you can do Bray Scream, which is cheaper and does good AP damage. Yeah, there's damage mitigation for Khorne, obviously, but this will like stack up over the course of a game if you're using it well. It does a nice little chunk. I do prefer Mantle myself, though. Just run around and pop Devolve and Mantle of Gorok as much as possible. Mantle is a huge buff. I mean, 50% more weapon strength, 40 melee attack. You use it on Kazrak if Valkia tries to land on him. With his bonus versus infantry of 30 plus the 40 melee attack, he is easily getting around her melee defense. He will smack her down at that point. And the mass and the charge bonus with decent speed, thanks to Primal Fury, plus the ward save from Dark Mail, makes it pretty hard to kill, actually. What kills Kazrak is, like, Minotaurs, and, like, Valkia with, Flesh Hounds all over him. He can be a little bit difficult to handle. There's a couple of other things that you can do here. For the rest of your army, I do like a couple of Zangors. I like Goreherd, obviously, very strong. Ungor Raiders are okay in this matchup. I would just bring 2 of them. I actually really like a couple of Ungor Spearherd because they're very good at killing Flesh Hounds. Flesh Hounds can very quickly run themselves into situations where they get tangled up in Ungor Spearherds. With the bonus versus large, they poke down those expensive hound units for Khorne very efficiently. They've only got 26 melee defense, so it's pretty doable. Synagor throwing axes in the opening, and you got 1,000 gold to work with. Just bring a Synagor great weapon. It's not bad to have like one. They can do some pretty good work. Some Sennies in reserve, maybe one more Synagor throwing axe. Do the Grog Hooves as you want, but they start to get a little pricey. Bring the Razor Gore Chariot. Bring a couple more Goreherd, some Razor Gores. That's really all you need. You don't need a huge army against Khorne because they tend to go pretty expensive overall. And you want to kite them around, man. Khorne is very weak to good kite play. And the Beastmen are very, very strong at maneuvering around with their Synagore throwing axes and just chipping away at the Khorne infantry and the Khorne throwing axes. It's pretty awesome. The Razorgore Chariot's just there to, like, run stuff over. If Kazrak's too choice for your tastes, though, you don't think you're going to have the micro to, like, really make them work, you can always do your Wildscaster on the Razorgore Chariot, and it can just be the Great Bray Shaman. And just get rid of Arcane Conduit. Distorted Reality is really good because it lowers melee attack and speed and charge speed. It's another good option. You just want to prioritize the debuffs in Mantle. If you just devolve everything that Khorne has, whenever they're trying to fight your Gore Herd, especially like Marauders and stuff like that, they're going to downtrade pretty horribly into your better infantry. And if they go with like Warriors and stuff, Mantle of Gorok is enough of a buff for the Gore Herds to actually be able to trade pretty solidly in the fight, and then you can have the Razorgores and like the Chariots run over all the Warriors, with throwing axe fire helping out as well. You can also do the Eye of Morsleep in that matchup. I brought that a lot, and it's done me pretty well. If you don't bring him on the crab, you don't even need the Hunger for the Captain. No? Do you? Is that true? I don't think that's true. I'm pretty sure the Hunger is actually, like, toggleable. If you don't bring the Hunger, then I don't think they come in with it at all. Pretty sure you have to pay for it. It'll show us in the tool... yeah, you don't get the Hunger if you don't pay the money for it. It's really nice to have. I mean, the heal isn't amazing, but it's still, like, a solid trickle over time. Round 5, Empire Norska. Okay, I'll check it out. Let's go. How much time we got left? I got about, like, 45 minutes. And then I gotta go make a shit ton of food for, like, tostadas and chili and a whole bunch of stuff, man. Got chorizo, got ground beef. I seasoned that stuff up. Oh my god, it's gonna be amazing. Round 4. Where is it? Oh, round 5, duh. Okay, that's why I literally can't find it. It's round 3. You might need to send it to me again, Melkor. I'm gonna look through the Discord. See if I messed up. It's Khorne versus Empire. Not what we're looking for. Yeah, send me the replay, brother, because I don't see it anywhere in the Discord, nor do I have it saved in here. Oh, you DM'd me already earlier. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. Ooh, Elspeth. Oh, baby, dude. I have actually played basically this almost exact same matchup where Charix brought Elspeth. I brought Wulfric and I didn't have any horsemen to protect Wulfric, and she just sniped him in the first like 2 minutes of the game. It sucks, dude. Elspeth is so good at sniping characters.
Before me I see a host of souls for the taking. But first, we must break their bodies and set their spirits free.
Hell yeah. Alright. She's got Doom and Darkness, she's got Spirit Leech, so the reason that she can snipe characters so quickly, what she does is she uses Spirit Leech, she then stacks the Death's Timekeeper over the top of that. Doing it in the early game, you don't get the heal out of it, but you get the extra damage, and then you Coruscating Blast, and you'll absolutely kill Wulfric in like one go of it. It's pretty heinous. It's happened to me. Him being on foot, he is not going to be able to dodge Coruscating Blast. There's a way to dodge this. It's on a very, it's got a very small range of only 55 meters. If you have your character on horseback, and you see your opponent is like winding up Coruscating Blast, if you run under Elspeth, Coruscating Blast can't fire like directly underneath her. It'll use the charge, put it on cooldown, and you'll take no damage. I've done it a couple of times. It's a little hard to do. Obviously can't do it with foot characters. But if Wulfric were on horseback, that could be an option to dodge the breath attack. Coruscating Blast, going for the Shaman Sorcerer, not hitting very square. Very odd. Usually that's a lot more accurate. Like a decent chunk of damage off of him, but not nearly enough. Elspeth gonna get a great rear charge. Awesome micro from Melkor. And the Marauders will probably tear her out pretty quickly here. You know, you can see their leadership wavering already. They're taking a bunch of damage. Elspeth is just having a whale of a time over there. Grenade launchers. Oh my god, massacring the Marauder Spears here. Not super surprising, one of the best chaff clear pieces in the entire game. Grenade launchers just have so much damage on their little explosives. A lot of it AP too. Like, the explosive AP damage is pretty damn solid. Really nice Spirit Leech there, and Elspeth with a really good swing gets a lot of damage in on the Shaman Sorcerer, who is going to be routing, and she jumps right back up into the air, avoiding Wulfric, and then lands back down on poor Buddy here. Ouch. Big ouch town. Thought I heard Seafang go off. Yeah, one use of it. Didn't get a lot of value, though. The battlefield is just messy, man. Holy crap. Melkor does have the lead, though. That's very important. You have killed your opponent's caster. Wulfric is over here. He's going to be pretty vulnerable now for Elspeth to go in and try and finish him off. Shouldn't be too long in the coming. Horsemasters and the Ice Wolf Chariot trying to shoot her a little bit, but she is going to maneuver away. Pops a Spirit Leech on Wulfric and looks to be circling overhead for opportunity to land, maybe? Not sure what's going on here. The Javelins will do some pretty good work against her. She needs to be very careful. Horsemasters are going to be able to poke down the 70 armor dragon pretty nicely. Of course, getting Blast going in, pretty good damage on Wulfric. Maybe they nerfed Coruscating Blast against foot characters. It used to be just as good against foot characters as it is against horse characters. Now it seems to hit them a lot less often. Curious. Maybe there's another nerf on it that I don't know about. There's so many things to keep up with in this game. Like, you miss one update, can really throw off your game knowledge because you're operating from a lot of faulty assumptions, potentially. Wulfric did survive the Coruscating Blast, but Elspeth proving herself more than equal to the Eternal Challenger. She just dominates him, man. 1900 value on her. She's 100% going to hard carry the game from here on out. She's just going to rear charge and terror route the entire Norscan army now. She flies over here and gets a charge off on this blob of Marauders. They're all going to run away. And then Empire will break through. They'll get right up on these points, and that'll be it. Lycus didn't cap the #1, nor did Melkor by that same token. All the fighting has been on the 2 and the 3 here. So just uber scrappy. Knights of the Blazing Sun coming out. They do run into the champions a little bit. Not really a great charge for them. They were trying to help Elspeth against the Skinwolves. You can see them getting another order to move away from there. Spear's getting up into the Skinwolves now, though. Chasing back some of the Norskin Marauder Spearmen. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Alright, over-under... Hold on. Over-under on all of these Norskin units terror routing. My money is on 4 of these units terror routing when she lands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She terror routed all of the Norskin army on the number 2 objective. And now all of their leaderships have broken as well. So they can just get chased off. It's basically game over for Norska now. Elspeth breaking open that pocket was kind of their last bastion of any kind of defense and semblance of a formation. And without that, the Skinwolves are not going to be able to maneuver around and get any kind of effective value trades. Because there's a lot of Empire Knights coming up now, and the Huntsmen are very healthy still. You see a lot of them just trolling around out here with pretty solid values up to this point already. Should be alright. Yes, there we go. Beautiful stuff from Melkor. Bye-bye, Marauders. Knights of the Blazing Sun are pretty beat up, but they'll just farm up a little bit of value, and then probably get unsummoned by the time they've either killed all those units or chased them all off the field. Skinwolves looking to get into the backfield, taking out some of the Outriders, but Knights of the Blazing Sun collapse from the flank, and look at the melt under the weight of the fire damage that the Knights have brought to the table. Oh, and Cascading Fire Cloak comes down right as they tear out because of Elspeth yet again. Proving her stuff. She's got one more blast. Yeah, Melkor working this guy down. Good charge on the champions. Leaving these units to just trundle off. I mean, not that big of a deal. They're pretty dysfunctional. It's not like they're going to be able to do a whole lot. That Coruscating Blast seemed to do a little bit more damage than the last couple. So I'm not super impressed. It seems to be a lot more balanced now at the very least, which is nice. Elspeth on release with Coruscating Blast was just ridiculous. I mean, she would literally do like 2,000 damage with one Coruscating Blast on literally any target she chose. It was truly horrendous. Shaman being pummeled again, 26 and counting. Horsemasters come in, they get a little bit of javelin fire off, Skinwolves chasing Knights. Spearmen in here, Greatswords hovering around in the back. Chariots have been very disruptive. 1,300 value on the Ice Wolf Chariot. Great stuff. Maybe you bring the same build, and instead of a, maybe instead of Wolfric, you bring like the most pared down Marauder champion imaginable, the Marauder, Marauder Lord, and hide him in the woods. And then you bring 2 chariots and do the same push through your infantry and just have the chariots run over the back line, and maybe you can win that way.
I knew it. Unending
Good spell
glory
casts,
is yours.
good defenses, good knight play, solid stuff all around from the Empire. Very, very dominant victory there. You know, all of the spearmen and such went down eventually, but they would have gotten unsummoned and brought back in. Empire would have been able to bring in more of their heavy hitters like the Zentlers and the Outriders. Free Company Militia were getting some decent value. Resummoning grenade launchers would be really nice. The Huntsmen were a good inclusion. Huntsmen have to be protected pretty thoroughly, but that it was very well done doing so by you, Melkor. When would someone pick Lore of Beasts caster? I almost always pick something else. So, Beast casters are really good into factions that have tons of mobility. Because Flock of Doom is Flock of Doom is okay if you're casting it on infantry. You want to be hitting a lot of stuff with it though. Shouldn't use Malagor because he's a mixed spell lord. Flock of Doom for like blobs of cavalry. Like against Wood Elves, Flock of Doom is absolutely devastating against their Wild Riders and Glade Riders. You can also do Shadows magic in that matchup, and it's just as good. Melkoth is just a good single target that does maybe a little bit more reliable damage, since it's just hitting one thing for 13 seconds. Flock of Doom gets better as more targets are in the radius, and the number of units that Flock of Doom hits is uncapped. You can hit 20 units at once. I mean, that would never happen. You would literally have to deliberately blob all 20 units up. But realistically, you can get into some pretty scrappy fights as the Beastman, where you've compressed your opponent's formation into a pretty compact area, and you can use Flock of Doom to then punish them and just leech the life out of everything in their army. And you can just overcast it repeatedly on 4 or 5 units and annihilate them. You can very quickly get like 13, 14, 1500 value out of like a handful of Flocks of Doom. But yeah, Empire, Lizardmen, Wood Elves, High Elves, Dark Elves. Who else? Wood Elves, High Elves, Dark Elves. I mean, Beastmen are a good faction to bring Flock of Doom into as well. Chaos Dwarves are pretty good for Flock of Doom. They don't have any spell resistance. And their Hobgoblins are super squishy to magic. The Hobgoblin Wolf Raider Cav only have 4,200 HP. You could use Flock of Doom to bully them. I would recommend Melkoth's in that matchup, though. Because Melkoth's is better for single targets. And it will basically take these guys down to less than half health if you use one Melkoth's. Where the hell? There it is. And you can also overcast Melkoth's for 3 extra ones of magic for an extra 200 meters of range on the cast distance, so you can keep your Lord a little bit safer from counterfire from missiles. Flock of Doom and Melkoth's are both 100-meter range spells, so you do have to put yourself in the danger zone sometimes to utilize them. Can Amber Spear kill artillery? Yes! Somebody showed me how to kill the Soul of Damnation with overcasted Amber Spear. And you can presumably do that to other artillery, although it would be a little bit ineffective, I think. The Amber Spear is probably just really all you want to do to kill the Soul of Damnation, and maybe like Death Shriek rocket launchers and stuff. Oh yeah, and Warriors of Chaos is great for the Beast magic. Because yeah, they do tons of Hellstriders, they do Knights. Like I said, it's okay against infantry if you're hitting enough of them. And the Amber Spear to counter the Soul of Damnation. Can't ask for more. Like, that's countering pretty much all of their good stuff, right? Warriors of Chaos without their Hellstriders and the Soul of Damnation are honestly kind of a weak faction. They're okay. They've always still got their really powerful lords and like solid heavy infantry, but definitely fall apart a little bit without the mobile option and the artillery that forces aggro out of people. I really like Bagosha's builds, dude. We're going to run it here. We're going to see what happens. Got a lot of Warhounds. Got 3 Marauders. You got a Chaos Knight, Karanak, as well as our favorite, girl boss, Valkia. Flying around, heavy armor. Really good anti-large character.
You cannot interfere with the path laid out by our master. Crush them underfoot.
No Demon Shield against the Wood Elves is absolute madness, in my opinion. I would never bring Valkia without Demon Shield. Demon Shield is just too good. I don't understand people who don't want to bring it. It is never a bad ability. Even if you're not, like, using it in, like, super important fights, like, even if she's just out here fighting Glade Riders, or, like, lands into a blob of Wild Riders who don't have AP to really punish Valkia, it's still nice to not take that chip damage. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. Valkia gets a lot better with the Demon Shield than without it. Without it, she's honestly very squishy. With it, she turns into a nightmare in the late game if she's still fairly healthy. You just want to play carefully with Valkia in the early game. She can get shot up. She's a small infantry-sized unit, so she's a little hard to hit flying in the air like this. But her HP pool being only 5,600 does mean you have to, you know, not overplay your hand. Karanak and the Hounds are just running around. Bagosh is being kind of boxed out a little bit right now. I would definitely get the Hellforge Bellowers down the hill and hit these Glade Guard. Glade Guard aren't incredible against any of the units that Khorne has. The Marauders have a shield and okay armor. And these guys don't hit that hard. Deepwood Scouts hit a little bit harder even than the regular old Glade Guard. Shooting Dryads ain't a bad idea either, but you don't really need to shoot Dryads because you're Chaos Knights. They do so much damage to Dryads anyways. Like, the Fire Weakness does make up for the Phys Res they have, and a little bit more, so your Knights do technically do 5% more damage to the Dryads than they do to any of these other Elven units. Pretty good positioning from Bagosh. I will give him that. Just staying up on the high ground. Gonna be charging down the hill here. It is gonna be carried home, and the Knights will do some nice work here. You're gonna pull back. 86 value on them. These Chaos Knights of Khorne trickling on to the middle objective. This is a little bit of an overextension from them. I wouldn't really be going for something like this. I think this is a very hazardous play. Whoops. Need to get the Marauders moving in as well. And yeah, the Chaos Knights get stuck on the Eternal Guard, which always sucks. This is why I prefer the Chaos Knights to be the ones diving into the backline. If they get stuck on infantry, they're terrible. They do not do anything. They're really good charging down infantry that's vulnerable to them in some way, like really low armor stuff, or, you know, like Dryads who are weak to fire damage. They can bulldoze through them pretty nicely, but them pushing the backline is really good for you because it opens up the field of play to more of your units because your opponent needs more to kill the Knights. If all you do is have Hounds in the backline, then like 1 or 2 cavalry can clean them all up. If you send 1 Chaos Knight back here, all 3 of those Knights are suddenly, or all 3 of those Glade Riders are suddenly needed to keep the Knights from just going absolutely bananas on the Glade Guard. And the Wildwood Rangers will also get flattened by the Chaos Knights as well, since they are good on melee attack, but they're a bonus versus infantry type of unit, and the Chaos Knights, if they just utilize their charge bonus, will just bulldoze over these poor fellows. Pit of Shades going down. Okay, interesting. Kind of deleting your own Glade Guard there, really, in my opinion. I don't like that cast at all. I don't know why it was that the Hounds weren't taking a lot of damage, but even outside of that, you've still got these Glade Riders here. People overestimate Warhounds all the time, dude. You do not need to cower in front of them. If you just attack Warhounds with even your most basic of cavalry, they almost always win. Fleshhounds crumbling out here. They are a summoned Fleshhound from Karanak, so it's not that big of a deal. Got about 400 value off of it, which is really good. Chaos Knights are causing a lot of problems here, but Bagosh piling in onto the War Dancers and the Dryads with another Chaos Knight. 3 Chaos Knights is nasty business, man. Actually keep 1 Marauder up here and push at the others. having a little bit of infantry just to occupy the Dryads and stuff, and out there a little beat up would be really nice. Because it'll allow more room for the Chaos Knights to maneuver in the late game. They can start looping around, looking for flanks up into the back here to get rear charges, or just to try and catch and kill the Glade Riders and the Wild Riders here. Hellfort's Bellowers with only 431 value. Been shockingly ineffective so far. Oh, these are Azrai Spears. No wonder they were doing so well against the Knights. Azrai Spears are a pretty dangerous unit. And they are going to attack the Hellfort's Bellowers up top here. Look how much damage they're racking up on this thing. It is going to trundle away, but these guys have 48 speed. With Smoke and Mirrors active, they're fairly quick for a foot infantry unit. The Skull Cannon can definitely outrun them, but it's a little bit, longer than you might otherwise want. Nice rear charge with the Knights. You got a lot of Knights here just kind of sitting around, though. I know you got a lot going on, but always try to have your units moving, like, in conjunction with one another. Like, don't have, like, scattered formations like this. Get these Knights out of here, get the Marauders over, use the remains of these Knight units to just charge the rear of all of these infantry, because the constant frontal charges are not really allowing the Chaos Knights to grind out value the way that they really want to. The Hellfort's Bellowers goes down, and suddenly Fire Fist looks like he might be able to get back in this game. Valkia and Karanak do find the Spell Singer, though. Oh, that's brutal, man. That is a huge loss. The Shadows magic hasn't been incredible, but it has been steady, consistent damage with Melkoths on the Knights, as well as Pit of Shades could potentially be really good for... Where's the Chosen unit? Here they are. These Chosen to be a really good target for Pit of Shades. An overcasted Pit of Shades would still do really good damage to these guys. The Azrai Spears did kill the Soul of or not the Soul of Damnation, the Hellforged Bellowers, but see it blown up in the back there. They do get surrounded by the Marauders and the Chosen here and get absolutely hard punished. You know, they have very weak armor, and melee defense is really nice, but no real damage output. It means that they can only hold for so long, right? Some more Glade Guard coming up. Looks like another Glade Guard getting isolated. Oh, Way Watchers! Oh, God, being attacked by Furies, too. Fucking ouch, man. Oh, Furies are so nasty against the Wood Elves. They're definitely one of the better units that you can use. I've been very impressed with the Hound play. Still not 100% sold on them. Against the Vampire Coast, I saw them do really good work. Against the Wood Elves, I just don't see them doing well with all the Wild Riders and Glade Riders out on the field, usually. Plus War Dancers, potentially. I'd avoid it. Karanak goes down, but does kill the Glade Lord. Valkia, very healthy. This is where she'll be a real nuisance. She's just going to be able to land into any mobility fights and just drag down Wild Riders 2 or 3 at a time. That's what she's best at. She's great against heavy cavalry. Character sniping is nice, but, you know, don't be so inflexible in terms of doctrine. The less downtime that you spend with your Corn Lords, the better you're going to do overall. Good double team here. Warhounds and the Marauder Horsemen throwing axes, getting in on the Glade Riders, who are finally out of ammo, and taking them down to size pretty quickly here. Big casualties, lots of routes, big sad for the Wood Elves. They got a push coming for the middle. 2 Marauders here, where the Chosen are up top with the Marauder. You can just leave the Chosen to be alone up here. You can rotate Hounds over to help out. Get the Marauders to the low ground. Need a little bit of help there. I don't think it matters too much. I mean, Khorne's going to hold on to the triple cap for a while now. Bogosia's saving up a decent amount of supplies. Could probably get in a Fleshhound or something, or some more Furies. To go after any of the ranged units, as well as the Wild Riders and such. Way Watchers do rally. They've got 900 value, which is pretty damn good. Firing at Valkia a little bit, looking to chip her down. She's doing alright, though. She can land and kill some of those guys, but I would advise against it. Not really a good use of her time. Beautiful hammer and anvil here. That Marauder unit got folded up in about 20 seconds. And same over here, and that was just the Blade Sinkers chewing through them. Wow, really good counter push from Fire Fist now. Dude, these the Furies have been really disruptive, but I'm not 100% sold on them spending so much time out there on that flank like that. Chosen into Blade Singers. Let's see how that goes for the Wood Elves. I think the Blade Singers should win this. They've got the Fizz Res, they've got a good bonus versus infantry. Chosen do have 55 melee defense. Really good weapon strength in their own right. Just watch it play out. Throwing Horsemen would be really strong, countercharging into the back of this fight. Same with the Warhounds, and Furies could do this also. They're pretty strong against Blade Singers, actually. As long as the Furies aren't the only unit fighting the Blade Singers, they do good enough damage with their melee attack into this squishy armor and, like, fairly low for such an elite unit melee defense on the Blade Singers. Do really good damage. Oh my god, beautiful Sword of Corn. All of the momentum that Firefight just got, or Fire Fist just got, sorry, pretty much evaporated with that sword. I mean, that just took out the two most expensive units you've got on the field. And the two that you're probably going to be relying on to anchor some of the objectives that you were trying to take back. You get more Wild Riders taken down, some Marauders, and then the other Tattered Wild Rider takes down the Chaos Warhounds here. This Wild Rider was already on death's bed, guys, and it's almost about to beat this Chaos Warhound. I think just barely going to skirt a win out here. Damn, those Hounds giving me heart palpitations. Oh my goodness. Chaos Knight in here. Chosen looking pretty healthy. They've gotten 1,000 value. They fought the Blade Singers off pretty effectively. That sword got them into a winning fight now. They should be able to wear these bare naked ladies out. They look so cool, man. Oh my god, I love Blade Singers. Their poison blades, the armor that they wear. I know it's not much in the way of armor, but it's something. Cool red hair, you know. Ginger's taking down the armies of chaos. Pretty cool. Chosen will easily kill a Dryad. This is why you bring a Chosen in this matchup. In the late game, they just anchor points and maneuver around to like fight infantry and force them away from positions. Because there's really nothing outside of the Blade Singers that can really deal with the Chosen on the ground. War Dancers can't do it, Dryads can't do it, Eternal Guard definitely can't do it, and Wildwood Rangers have an okay time against Chosen, but Chosen still win a one-on-one and can then scrap at least a decent enough amount of value back to be paying for themselves against another. With the Silver Shield also, they're very resilient to missile fire. I love this build from Bagosh. Fire Fist was really close to grinding his way back into that game. The early main fight was a little too chaotic for the Wood Elves' liking. They want things to be a lot more ordered. Giving up that middle point to Khorne when they push down from the high ground honestly isn't a bad thing, because it'll give you better lines of fire and a more defensible position if you just pull back a little bit. It'll limit the ways in for Karanak. Valkia will also have a harder time finding engagements in the Glade Lord and the Spellsinger. And then you can maybe get some more use out of your Glade Guard, because the Hounds just got around all of the front line and then got on top of the Glade Guard early and were able to kill them, and then that was pretty much game. The Hounds were okay. They were fine, I guess. I still am not a believer in them. Maybe someday people will really swing it around. That fight against the Vampire Coast, though, I'm definitely bringing some Hounds against them next time. Yeah, I'm glad we could help you out, Nojus. Melkor gave you a good little rundown on one of the other good matchups. I'm very thankful for that. The amount of corn and chaos in general this time around. That's how these tournaments go, man. People mix it up all the time. Sometimes you'll just see lots of chaos factions. Sometimes you'll see lots of order factions. Sometimes you'll see tons of undead. Sometimes you won't see any undead. Sometimes you'll see tons of elves. Sometimes you even see ogre kingdoms. Ah, man, I love ogre kingdoms. We haven't seen them yet, so... see if Legatus can take them down. To be honest, Norsca has a great matchup against the ogre kingdoms. You've got very durable anti-large lords with, like, Throg. Wolfric can be okay. His Seafang devastating Noblars is pretty hilarious. And then you don't have to bring a Firecaster. You can go for, like, a Deathcaster or something to, like, Spirit Leech down the lords for the ogre kingdoms or something. Just an idea. Thamir Great Weapons are very nice with their weapon strength and anti-large bonus, plus all of the missile resistance, very hard for the Ogre Kingdoms to kill. Skinwolves have regen, very fast, can take down Saber-Tusk packs. If they catch an Iron Blaster, they'll rip it apart in a couple seconds. They need to stay away from Pigback Riders and Mournfang Cavalry, though. Both of those units do beat Skinwolves pretty bad. Firebelly here for Ogre Kingdoms. Golg is going to be the leader here. Our blessed Ogre Kingdom's lord of, demonetization. Rocking up with his 85 leadership. And damn solid stats, and he did get, what did he get in this last patch? He got something. Did he not have ITP before? He might not have. Or was it Causes Fear? I don't know. I can just look at the patch notes later. He got something this patch. That was a nice little a boost to him. Definitely something that was a little weird that he didn't have before. So now that he's got access to it, it's looking a little nicer. Noblars are going to get roasted by their own burning head here, potentially. Ouchies. Okay, not that bad, though. Very lucky. Uh-oh. Is he going to burn out before it gets... oh, the Pigback Riders and the Slingers getting hit at the end here, and they do lose a little bit of HP. Definitely not worth the whom you spent there. Throwing axes are doing pretty nicely. Look at them pressuring these Ogre Bull dual weapons, dude. I have seen some genuinely amazing throwing axe play out of Legatus this tournament. It's been very, very well handled. Dodging shots from the Iron Blaster as well. Iron Blaster are really good against cavalry because they fire the multi-shot and it cleaves through everything in its path. It's pretty devastating. It's a great hard counter to Cav, in fact. Little inaccurate right now, though. Maybe firing a little bit too far out. It is about half the distance in. It could probably get a little bit closer. I really like these single entity artillery pieces for a little bit of close range fire support. They tend to be a little bit better once you close the gap with them, and they can get their shots a little bit more accurately focused on target. That was a really good shot there. Oh my god. How many models did it kill? Also had the Skinwolves doing a little bit of poke to them, but nothing too serious. It's like 12 models, man. Brutal. Alright, Iron Blaster, let's see it. Getting another shot in here. A little bit high, though. Wonder if that's because the horsemen are by that forest there. Very, very unfortunate whiffs on a lot of those volleys from the Iron Blaster so far. But it does have plenty of ammo. All you need is like 1 or 2 good shots from the Iron Blaster, and it'll very quickly pay for itself. A little bit of damage, a few more models taken down. Still firing from so far out, man. Come on, buddy. 16-second reload time ain't bad either. Ouch, dude. I don't know why it's missing so much. It's very strange for the Iron Blaster in my experience. Usually firing in against cavalry, it's accurate enough. Maybe it's because of the terrain. artillery can have a hard time firing onto units that are on, like, terrain features that are lower or higher than them. That can cause the scattered volleys a lot of the time. Trying to hit the Thamir from downtown, not really worth the time. Drive the Iron Blaster right up here, use the Mournfangs to buffer anything out, and then just fire right down the flank of this formation and obliterate everything here. A little too late for that now, but it was an option on the table. Mournfang Cav looking to get in, not the anti-large cavalry. I do not like the standard Mournfangs. They are not good enough. The Mournfang Great Weapons have a lot of uptrade potential that the regular version just doesn't have because they don't specialize into anything. And against Norska, you have to have a way to kill Skin Wolves in Thamir. If you don't, you're not really going to be able to win the game, because your Noblars are always going to be at a disadvantage in this matchup because of your opponent's ability to bring like fire magic as well as like Wolfric with Sea Fang. It's just going to rip apart the Noblar front line so quickly. Flingers hanging out in the backfield. Fibber Great Weapons grinding away, getting some good work done here. Grog also contributing. Being a wildly old troll, even though he may sound like an absolute dumbass in this game. My headcanon is that he's just playing dumb. He's trying to fool people right now. He's not wanting to reveal his true tactical brilliance yet. He's in a one-on-one versus Golg right now. Mournfang Cavalry are getting pushed back. A little overwhelmed by the numbers in here. The Fimmer Great Weapons are just such a good counter to Mournfang Cavalry. These guys are good on the charge, but they just don't have good sustained stats. And the Thamir have pretty decent melee defense. With the bonus versus large, they're easily outpacing the Mournfang Cavalry on DPS. Fairly even game still. We do get, finally, some heavy AP. Maneater Great Weapons coming forward. They should have a whale of a time into these Thamir. Get them in. Come on, get in there. Don't fight the spears. Oh my god, no, please. No, 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 no. No, please don't, Daceberg. This is one of the problems with the Maneater Great Weapons, is their low armor. So chaff spears, like these Marauder Spearmen, can farm them up, bro. They get wrecked by basic spears. It's so sad. You gotta be really careful with your Maneater Great Weapon engagements. That's why I prefer the Mournfang Cav in this matchup, because your opponent's gonna spam the anti-large options out. Having the heavy armor on your anti-large, I think, is way better than using the Maneater Great Weapons here to try and do anything. Like, they're good into the Thamir and the Skin Wolves, but if they get overwhelmed by numbers, that's where they fall apart. Just because of the light armor. Norska has so many answers to that, too. Alright, pushing away from the Spearmen now, you see him just trampling over these guys. I love how big the Ogre models are. They did a really good job of getting all the units to scale, in my opinion. Or will they find one of the Thamir? This guy takes a couple of blows, still standing though. Ouch. It goes down with the combined efforts of those four Maneaters back there. 5 Maneaters. The Maneater Great Weapons are a little stretched out now, and look at the horde of wolves here for Norska. They are going to get a beautiful surround on the Maneaters whenever they want it. Come on, do it, do it, do it. They got some Skin Wolves just kind of fumbling their way into this fight. Should still be pretty fine for them. Don't push away from this fight, though. Come on, fight the, kill the Maneaters, please. If you kill the Maneaters, there's nothing else hanging in here. And you can just get up into the Lead Belchers at that point. Iron Blaster has been way too inaccurate this game. Absolutely disappointing.
One of your units has been destroyed.
Oh, you hate to see it. More Maneater Great Weapons coming up, but the first one has really not done very well. Only 400 value, or 800 value. They're 1,600 shy of their 1,400 gold cost. Yeah. It ain't happening here, I think. Unfortunately, the ogres are looking a little too outmatched. Gnoblar's got opened up a little bit too early. Part of that is the fire belly, doing a lot of friendly fire damage. I saw a couple of times that the Gnoblars are getting roasted by the fire belly there. Obviously holding some kind of grudge against the Gnoblars. Ogre Bolt dual weapons are terrible into Skin Wolves. I mean, you don't have anything else to do at this point. There's like no real way to stop this fight from happening. The Ogre Bulls are slower, so the Skin Wolves would catch them eventually anyways. Just sucks to watch it happen. Man-Eaters hanging in. They did kill one Skin Wolf here. Pummeled these guys pretty badly, but Throg and the Familiar Great Weapons getting in. Finally a decent shot from the Iron Blaster onto the Familiar. Not going to be enough, though. The Familiar did just about pay for themselves. Throg standing in here toe-to-toe with his boys. Trying to finish off the Man-Eaters. Norskin Ice Wolves would be pretty good at charging some of these units down. More dual weapon bulls dying here. We've lost the Fire Belly. Pegback Riders just sitting outside the fight, and the Ice Wolf Chariot was 673 value. Is pretty nice. Wow, dude, the Man-Eaters just can't finish the Familiar. This Familiar unit is 1,600 value. I did see the Wintertooth Crown going off a minute ago. Really nice use in the Unbreakable there. Lead Belchers getting laid up by the Throwing Axe fire. They've been shooting at really bad targets the entire game. Lead Belchers do not do damage to monstrous units. They wreck cavalry and they annihilate infantry. That is where the Lead Belchers should have been shooting this whole game. And if you get good value out of your Lead Belchers, there's not a lot of factions that can stop the Ogre Kingdoms at that point. Here, though, the Lead Belchers get shut down. They're going to die. They're, you know, squishy as hell. They've got, like, no HP. Like, 4,900, 16 models, no armor, no melee defense. And the Iron Blaster is just not shooting. It's just decided it's done, I guess. The Ogres are on strike, and they want to talk to their Union representation to get the hell out of here. Getting massacred by the Marauder Hunter Javelins here. We do have the Throwing Axes up on the high ground shooting Golg here, who did get his Bugman's Brew off, so he's going to heal cap, which is good for him. Nice. He's actually 4 HP off. That 4 HP is going to make a big difference, clearly, guys, right? Last second gasps here, but the Javelins are in position, and they're getting some really good damage off. I really like this as a late game summon to support any fights and punish anything that might be blobbing up and trying to finish off your Lord. The Javelins just are so cost efficient. They've got pretty good AP, and the bonus versus large gets them a little bit extra, obviously. So you can never really get wrong with the Javelins, in my book. Look at him annihilate. Poor Golg, man. Being pin-cushioned by Javelins is definitely not a very comfortable existence. I do like that a lot of the stuff is like bouncing off of them. Look at how well modeled that is. Like the Javelin got stuck up into his body where the armor wasn't. It's a lot of attention to detail, man. Golg goes down, shot to death by the missiles. Norska holding very comfortably. Marauder Champions fighting dual weapon bulls and the Gnoblars up here and doing honestly pretty well. Not really a fight that they want to take 2v1, but just a hold off the ogres and, you know, just consolidate more troops up on the number 2 and check the safety of the number 3. Not a bad idea. Lead Belchers rally, and they're again wasting ammo. I mean, they can do some damage to Throg because he is kind of a large target. I just still don't like this. I just want to see the lead belchers used against the infantry and the cavalry. That's all. That's like the biggest adjustment, and use the Iron Blaster maybe a little more aggressively. Make sure that it's getting good shots off, otherwise it's a waste of money. Mournfang's having a hard time killing any of the Marauder Horsemen who are running away now. They are going to get worn down very quickly here.
I knew it.
Very nicely played Norskin game there. Yeah, that's okay, man. It just, Ogre Kingdoms are a very, tricky faction to get a hang on. This definitely was, all, like, jitters and inexperience, I'm pretty sure. You didn't make any, like, truly egregious misplays. You were just making some very minor mistakes that, with, you know, a little bit more, patience and attention to detail will, you know, get cleaned up just by a little bit of practice and cleaner execution next time around. And Crusher Great Weapons are too expensive. They're like 1,800 gold. Saving 1,800 gold up in reserve is a big ask. Oh god, they're 1,900 gold. Holy shit. Yeah, definitely don't. Just get the Mournfang Great Weapons. I mean, they're good enough as is. They've got good armor. They're fast. 75 speed is really fast for such a powerful unit. They've got good HP. They hit hard. With the 12 models and 2,000 mass and 68 charge bonus. On 120 weapon strength with a bonus versus large of 30, they trade very well into a lot of the Norskins' units. You can't use them recklessly. Mournfangs do need to be your countercharging unit, but if you just have some lead belchers like shooting infantry and the skirmish cav, and keeping those off your back, then Norska's going to have a really hard time in that matchup. Because they're going to have a pretty rough go of it getting in. If you can just do enough damage to them so that they're not able to make firm contact with their front line, and you can get some early breaks on some of their infantry and maybe some skinwolves or something, you'll be able to replace your losses a little bit better. You should be able to Burning Head down Marauders and, you know, eventually counter push just fine. Alright, guys. Any Dark Elf matches to watch? We'll get to those tomorrow. I wanted to just do another stream today since, you know, yesterday was so messy. But I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm hot as hell. I mean, I'm literally, like, drenched in sweat. I'm gonna go take a really cold shower and make some food. And drink a ton of water. And I'll see y'all tomorrow for another stream. So, till then, guys, thank you for checking out the stream. I'll catch y'all later. Peace out.